All right, we got sidebar number 6 with Elaine and her microphone. She gives Judge Penny an excuse as to why her microphone is not working, and Judge Penny doesn't buy it. Objection, Your Honor. Why would leading? I haven't asked a question, Your Honor. Hearsay. Why did you not ask for $32 million from Mr. Depp? Your Honor, leading. I said, why did you not ask? Relevance. The court sustained the objection to leading. We asked our technician to take a private picture of us with the alpaca, which is still against my order. I apologize. I do apologize, but it's completely my fault. I was taking a picture for my boys who I haven't seen in 5 weeks. I apologize. No excuse. You can redirect, but not hearsay. I mean, hearsay and leading. Your Honor, it's patently not fair for them to cross-examine. And then Your Honor say, that's for redirect. And then I say, she's answering these questions. All right, y'all, we're starting on day 18. We're going to continue with the cross-examination of Amber Heard by Camille Vasquez. We have a lot of sidebars today, about 27 sidebars. And that's a lot because for all the other days, it was only like 4 to 6 sidebars, but today is 27 sidebars. It's going to be a lot of Camille versus Elaine, maybe Elaine versus Judge Penny. And then afterwards, when H is not on the stand anymore, we have some video depositions by her best friends. And then continuing on with the rest of the trial dates, it's just mainly just a lot of video depositions. I think the only live witness that H had that was like from her friends or family, was her sister, Whitney. And then after that, we do finally get some live, testimonies with her expert witnesses. But, honestly, I think it doesn't really look really good when you had all these people that backed up a couple years ago and then now they won't even show up to do like a live testimony for you. So, I don't know. I didn't think it looked really good for her. Objection times like 37. I don't know. Should we do an objection count? A lot. After the cross-examination, there's a redirect by Elaine, and that was Elaine's chance to just shine, learn from her previous mistakes with all the hearsay stuff, get her A game on. But dude, man, she bombed so bad during the redirect. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. It was just bad. I guess also when Amber Heard was answering the questions, she maybe also included a lot of hearsay stuff. So, that's also a tough one for Elaine as well. So that's kind of outside of Elaine's control. But I don't know. It was just, I think both of them were just doing pretty bad up there. And yeah, the redirect just completely tanked. So again, H still on the stand, just doing cross-examination. We have sidebar number 1. We got some metadata, hearsay, and deposition designations. Depositions recorded ahead of time. Yeah, so we got some depositions coming in. Okay. So we're in the sidebar right now. Elaine says, these are all the audio clips. The court says, okay, the audio clips. Elaine says, and these are the redacted sets 700 through, I think it's 717, indiscernible. Court says, all the redacted ones. Elaine says, and then I would like to revisit this issue, Your Honor. Your Honor may recall, I have a copy of yesterday's transcript and I tagged the section that's relevant here. So Your Honor may recall, first of all, I did put Amber Heard on the stand and we have that. At 134, she gives the foundation. So remember how the day before, I covered this, I think on Friday, so maybe you guys don't remember. But Amber Heard was testifying and they tried to bring up, it was like a picture of, basically someone took a picture of like a phone or an iPad and then showed like the metadata on it. And Camille was like, oh, like that could be manipulated. And we don't want that to be, we don't want Amber Heard to testify on the metadata stuff. We'll have an expert do that. And so, they went back and forth a little bit, and then the judge overruled Elaine's objection, the judge sustained Camille Vasquez's the objection. Sorry. And then, so this is Elaine. I think she's bringing it up again, and she wants to argue it. And let's see what the judge says. So, Your Honor may recall, first of all, I did put Ms. Heard on the stand, and we have that. At 134, she gives the foundation, explains how she put the metadata on there. And Ms. Vasquez says, this is 134, Your Honor, I would just ask the picture be redacted on hearsay grounds. And Your Honor then granted that at that point. The court's like, we already argued this. Maybe Elaine has a new argument. Why are you bringing this up again? Elaine says, then I gave them back and revisited it. I tried to give the case law that said the metadata is not hearsay, and Your Honor believed at the time there was a foundation issue. But the foundation had been laid. We don't have any expert. Oh, Ann. Thank you so much, Ann, for the $1.99. I appreciate it. Game over. Who's it game over for? We don't have an expert that's going to say how she put the metadata on. And in fact, we believe we're going to be able to get those in on the foundation hearsay. If they challenge the legitimacy, then in rebuttal, we have an expert to say these are legitimate photos. But I need to get that through in her. And I believe that I laid the foundation. The only objection is hearsay. And I think the case law is quite strong. Okay. Vasquez comes in. I think this is an expert issue, Your Honor, as you indicated. The court says, she's saying it's not hearsay. But there is no foundation laid for those that text that got on the photograph. That's not a photograph. It's a photograph of a photograph. Elaine, she explained, the court, I'm still going to sustain at this time, okay? On foundation grounds and hearsay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Now, Ms. Myers comes in. She says there's another issue that they're going to discuss. Ms. Myers is also an attorney for Mr. Depp. So Ms. Myers says, so after a late day 2 weeks ago, we went over the depositions. Oh, deposition days. The parties agreed their depositions were sent to be spliced. And then they started coming back and they started unilaterally designating additional testimony. We've objected. Well, we agreed on the court, and what the court ruled on is what is, the court says, right? And we must abide by. We agreed that we would withdraw materials, but that was sort of when we were in court and we had an opportunity to see what they were withdrawing. We could, reevaluate our own designations. We were withdrawing, so we would unilaterally designate after the depositions come back, depending on how long they are, because they gets cut off. Okay. Elaine Butterhoff says, so they de-designated back with Filati. Erin Filati was the nurse that saw AH. Remember how AH said that she had like a bruise on her head and like a split lip or something? Erin Filati said that she saw she saw the lip was like kind of messed up, and then she looked at her head and didn't see that there was like a contusion. I think that's what she said exactly. Elaine says, and Your Honor said that it was about whether or not you can cut back after Brandon Patterson and establish the two and the hows. All the way through every single Friday while we're out in the hallway, we both agree that we could just de-designate more later. It's just our designation. Yes, Your Honor, when Your Honor cuts us back to 71 hours, we were in huge trouble, and we needed to cut back a lot of testimonies. And that's what we did. From May 1 through May 10, we were sending them exactly the same they did. We would send them to Planet Depot saying, please remove these. These are our designations, not theirs. And they have to write to de-designate more if they wanted to. No, they didn't say a word. From May 1 to May 10th, didn't say a word. And then on Friday night, they say, oh, we object to you unilaterally de-designating. We had already gotten the new splice videos now. Is this still Elaine? Oh, Elaine's saying a lot. Oh, wow. Okay, Elaine's talking. All right. They know exactly what we de-designated. I said, how are you prejudiced by this way? It's what we designated. We need to cut because we can't get it all in. We had to cut. We had to cut significantly because otherwise we can't get our testimony in with Your Honor's time limitations. The court says, okay. Ms. Myers responds, Your Honor, with respect to Ms. Filati's deposition, that was one of ours that we did early on. And Ms. Hurst's counsel reached out to us and said that we would agree that we would both de-designate further. In that instance, we said, yes, we agree. We both de-designated. We both told each other what was being de-designated, and then we re-spliced. What happens with the ones that handled 2 Fridays ago, we're exchanging emails saying that we're going to de-designate. This came from a deposition, vice versa. We came in and we worked on those. The court says, right. Jessica Myers continues. And then we had those finalized in our views unless we had an agreement that, we might spare our time. We could de-designate further than that. None of those ones that they're setting fall into the category. This is largely unfair. When we were doing the deposition videos in our cases in chief, we didn't have the opportunity to ask after, hold on, we need to remove parts of it. They're taking advantage. Ooh, shots fired at Elaine. Ms. Mederhoff says, that's not true. They did it with Filati in the first week, Your Honor. That's not prejudice. They're not prejudiced by this. This is our testimony. It's like us deciding not to ask to witness certain things. And we've been sending them for 2 full weeks. We've been sending them to them saying we've de-designated these. You're welcome to de-designate as well. Let us know if you have any issues with what we are de-designating. Otherwise, we're just severely prejudiced, Your Honor. We can't fit them all in. That's the bottom line here. That's what we've done. We've done it all the way through. The court says, but 2 Fridays ago, you knew you had 61 hours. Elaine says, correct, Your Honor, which is when 2 Fridays ago, when we started de-designating. When Your Honor said that we said, oh my God, we can't fit this all in. We started de-designating. The court says 3 Fridays ago. Elaine says, we've been de-designating since that time. We've been cutting, they've been cutting, and every Friday, every single one of these lawyers here said that we're going to have to cut more, and they said, we will too. And I said, great, just let them know, and that's what we did. We let them know, we let Planet Depots know, but we're beyond severely prejudiced because we're not allowed to cut our own designations. We didn't cut theirs, they didn't touch theirs. The court says, so how are you prejudiced by this? Meyer says, so, Your Honor, we're not objecting to what we have drawn 3 Fridays ago. The court says, how are you prejudiced if they cut more now? Ms. Myers responds, the issues that we will remove or what we agreed to remove or lock in were based off an understanding of what was their designations. Camille Vasquez comes in, and Your Honor, Mr. Chew comes in. We knew those limits. Ms. Bretterhoff says, we said if there's any specific ones, let us know. They have never done that. They've been doing this for 2 weeks, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez says, Your Honor, if I may, you would really do this to us when we're trying to prepare for cross-examination and take away attorney resources. They have decided, after Your Honor has ruled on the depositions, to de-designate further. Not in agreement with us, it is not fair. Mr. Waterborn says, they had 10-day break to prepare for a cross-examination. Elaine says, damn, look at everyone have been here. Elaine says, Your Honor, there's no prejudice to them. Vasquez says, yes, there is. Mr. Chew also says, yes, there is. Ms. Bretterhoff says, give us one designation that we de-designate that somehow that's their prejudice. This is our testimony, Your Honor. Ms. Meyer says, after we were in court 3 Fridays ago, we marked up our transcripts and we have not sent anything further de-designations. Camille Vasquez cuts in and there's Jessica Meyer continues talking. They've received some videos back and then they saw the time. They started slicing more. Ms. Bretterhoff, exactly. We had to because we couldn't get our case in. We would be severely prejudiced by that. The court says, but you knew from the very beginning. Ms. Bretterhoff says, Your Honor, actually, I don't agree that we knew from the very beginning because I know Your Honor said the first week. Court says, right. Elaine continues, we're going to have to go to the hours and then Your Honor changed that down to 61. Oh, there's a 72 right there. We're going to go to 72 hours. And then Your Honor changed that down to 61. This is our case now. Once we got to the times, and in fact, we have suffered a lot. Remember the Brandon Patterson one? Because they wouldn't agree to the authenticity of all those video clips? We had 2 hours and 49 minutes of authenticating each one of those, and then they agreed to it, just as we were coming in for that. So we got stuff for like 2 hours and 49 minutes. When we got the time estimates, Your Honor, we came back and said we couldn't do that. We had to cut, and we did cuts. I'm not hearing any prejudice on your cuts, Your Honor. There isn't any prejudice. It's just like us not asking more questions. And we've said specifically that we've been doing this for 2 weeks, Your Honor. They didn't say a word until Friday night. And then we said, you're welcome to de-designate as well. And if you have any issues with any of our designations, but we cannot get our case on if we can use the originals. We had to cut. The court, I can't require her to use originals that you based on just because you're doing this all by depositions. It's just a very strange case. But it's their case, their testimony, so I'll allow the de-designations. Let's move on. Mr. Chew says, thank you. Court says, thank you. Elaine says, we're ready for the jury to come in. Oh my God, that was a pretty long one. Woo! Voice already drying up with the Elaine. Elaine voice. I remember her spouting off in like the sidebars. I wish I had access to the transcripts because what I was going to do is I was going to show the video clips of what happened in the court so I don't have to read everything. And I was just going to read the sidebars. But I don't want to scroll through like a million hours of videos on YouTube. So yeah, that's why I'm just reading everything. And then also I'm trying to read a little bit more before and after just to give some context. Because some parts I'm like, wait, I don't remember when the sidebar happened. Where are we at right now? Okay, next sidebar. We got Elaine versus Camille Vasquez. Okay, good. Not against the judge. Camille's going to go through the sequence of what age alleged happened during the Australia incident. Oh, this is going to be kind of a long one as well. So again, Camille Vasquez is during the cross-examination of AH. Camille Vasquez says, so you're acknowledging by the sequence, but not by my words, your words misheard, that you testified to this jury that Mr. Depp smashed the phone to smithereens before he assaulted you. That's the sequencing in which you testified, correct? Amber Heard says, I never testified to a sequence. Okay, keep talking about the sequence. Then on page 4521, starting at line 3, you testified to being bent over backwards in the bar, correct? Ms. Bretterhoff says, Your Honor, may we approach? The court says, okay. Bretterhoff says, the question Ms. Vasquez is asking is not proper impeachment to use. She needs to ask the question and then go to the page and line number and read what was testified to the page. Instead, what she's doing is she's characterizing her interpretation of the testimony. She keeps asserting her own language. That's not proper impeachment. She has to ask the question that they've asked here and give her a different asker and then go back and impeach her. So what she's doing, Camille Vasquez cuts her off. I'm not impeaching her. First and foremost, Bretterhoff says, but she's. Camille says, Miss Bretterhoff, I'm not impeaching her. This is the statements of the party opponent. I can use them however I want, and I'm entitled to do that. So we're going through the transcripts. These are Miss Heard's statement under oath. I'm using them in a way I see fit. Bretterhoff says, she's testifying to her characterizations of what Miss Heard is testifying to. She used the word sequence. I can't tell how many times. There's no sequence in there, Your Honor. The court says, you can ask the questions. You can use, I understand. You can ask the question, just don't comment on the answer. Camille Vasquez says, okay. All right, we're going to continue on reading to, I think, the next sidebar, actually. All right, so we're back in open court. Camille Vasquez says, directing your attention, Miss Heard, to page 4521, starting at line 3, you testified to being bent over backwards in the bar, right? That's correct. And then you felt pressure in your pubic bone like Mr. Depp was punching you, yes? That's what I thought. And then further down on page 4521, then on to 4522, you testified that you were concerned Mr. Depp was using a broken bottle on you. Yes, that was my fear. Okay, that's what I remember feeling. Miss Heard, I'm going to show you Defendant's Exhibit 1816, which has already been admitted. Court says, yes, ma'am. Ms. Vasquez says, thank you. You saw this picture during your direct examination, right? I did. And you testified that this is a picture of the bottles that were next to Mr. Depp on the desk when you found him drinking in the morning, right? That's correct. And this is the morning after Mr. Depp had allegedly sexually assaulted you, right? It was the morning after he did assault me, yes. And if I understand your testimony correctly, you testified that this is the Maker's Mark bottle that Mr. Depp sexually assaulted you with. I was never sure it was, but it was definitely the shape. Felt like the shape. But you testified this morning that you had not seen this bottle until Ben King provided these photos, correct? Not in the course of the trial. I hadn't seen the photos. You claimed that you had serious injuries after this alleged incident, right, Miss Heard? Depends on what you would call serious. For me, having a sore jaw, some bruises at my time in the relationship wasn't that serious. Okay, let's testify. Let's focus on the testimony that you gave about the injuries. So the Maker's Mark bottle, was it that she was trying to say that he used the Maker's Mark bottle after he broke it? But then when Ben King provided the photos, Camille Vasquez was like, oh, look, here's the Maker's Mark bottle. It's not broken. It's right there. Is that what they're trying to say? Because I actually don't remember this part. I don't know if you guys remember. Okay, so Camille continues and says, okay, let's testify. Let's focus on the testimony that you gave about the injuries. Mr. Depp, as you testified yesterday, wears rings on every finger, right? Sometimes, I mean often, and certainly in the later part of our relationship, that was more normal than not. But if he's filming or something like that, of course, he's not going to have his jewelry on. Your testimony in this trial was, I don't know if I've ever known Johnny not to wear rings, correct? Elaine says, objection, improper impeachment. The court says, you need to put on your microphone. Oh, this is where the microphone thing. This is where we have like a string of like the microphone issues. Ms. Bretterhoff says, objection, Your Honor, improper impeachment. If she's going to ask a question, she has to show where that was. The court overruled the objection. Vasquez says, thank you. Oh, man, this whole ring thing really bit her in the butt. There's a lot of things that she said that ended up being used against her. And, she literally just said that she's never ever known Johnny not to wear rings. But then people were like, well, if Johnny hit you and punched you while wearing rings, then your injuries would be a lot more severe. And then it was at some point where she said, like, I don't know, like right now when when Camille's like, yesterday you testified that he wears rings every day. And she's like, well, sometimes, I mean, often. So it's like, you start seeing the lies just start to crack, It's like when you're lying, it's different than when you're lying and being cross-examined and you have someone putting pressure on you. It's really hard to jumble and get all your, your lies straight, I guess. I would hire a lawyer like her now. I mean, like, she does, like, what's the other types of lawsuit that she does again? It was employment lawsuits or something like that, where she represents people who used to work for a company and they want to sue. I don't know. I heard that was, like, her bread and butter. Okay, so back to the rings thing. Ms. Vasquez says, your testimony yesterday was, I don't know if I've ever known Johnny not to wear rings. Right, Ms. Heard? That's what I testified to, yes. And he was wearing rings on every finger in Australia, correct? Not all the time, but literally every single ring, every single day, but he often wears rings. Not often, Miss Heard. Your words are, I've never known Johnny not to wear rings on every finger. That's what I testified to. Okay. And you testified that you bled as a result of the sexual assault, correct? That is correct. All right. And you testified that your forearms were cut, my forearms and my feet. And your feet was sliced up. That's correct. And you testified that you had a bruise across your jaw. That's correct. And there's not a single medical record reflecting treatment for any injuries, is there, Ms. Heard? I didn't seek treatment. And the day after you sustained all these injuries, Dr. Kipper came to the house in Australia, right? Well, he came on the third day along with security. The day that you sustained these injuries, Dr. Kipper came along with nurse Debbie Lloyd, correct? Well, that fight went into the morning, like the early hour morning. So technically that last day. Dr. Kipper is Mr. Depp's or was Mr. Depp's physician, correct? I believe he still is, but he was at the time. Yes, that's correct. And he was also your physician. He also saw me. No, not saw you. He was your physician. Correct, Ms. Heard. Johnny was a client, but he also treated me. Okay, let's pull up. Do you remember giving testimony in a case in a deposition, Ms. Heard? Yes, I do. I've given a couple. Ms. Vasquez says, can we pull up blah, blah, blah? May we approach? Court says, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Sidebar number 3, Elaine versus Camille, 5121. 512112. Okay. So Camille asks, and you write to Dr. Cowan, I feel so lost, I can't talk. I don't know if I'll ever be able to change. Did I read that correctly? Yes, that's correct. Oh, sorry, she says that's correct. You weren't able to change, were you, Miss Heard? I very much wanted to leave the relationship I was in, but I didn't have the power. I didn't feel I had the power to leave. I knew I was in a very toxic relationship with Johnny, and I knew that I needed to change that. I knew it was, at that point, horrible for me, and I talked to my therapist about it often. About that. Ms. Vasquez, I'm going to move to admit exhibits. Defendant's Exhibit 371 is redacted. Elaine says, Your Honor, I object because she has left the 2 lines from Ms. Heard that clarifies even further. And I also think, gets cut off, Ms. Bredehoff, may we approach, please? May we please approach with this? Okay. So in this sidebar, Vasquez says, I'm going to ask Your Honor that Ms. Bredehoff, the court, I just need, what's your legal objection, Ms. Bredehoff? I can't have talking objections. Ms. Bredehoff, I'm sorry. I think if you look at the redacted, you're saying they redacted more of her statement? Yes, they did not. She got it more in there. Right. And that gives the context of any of this. And they're trying to take it out of context and just put it in 3. And just put these 3 in. Right after that, she has 2 more, but also has the ones before that. And then we have Dr. Cowan responding to that. Hey, Nick, how are you doing today? What's up, Jeannie? Hello. Ms. Vasquez says, Your Honor, she's able to, the court, but this is their evidence. This is not indiscernible. Ms. Bredehoff, when we were objecting, when it was their case in chief, they were able to put in context, Your Honor. You didn't object to having it in context. You didn't object to them having the context. Actually, we did. No, you did not. Your Honor, do you have the objection of the context coming in? It's our evidence. We would like to see the text message that I read into the record that Ms. Heard has testified are her text. And that's it. I'm trying to make this easy as possible for the court and Ms. Bredehoff by redacting the hearsay. Trying to be respectful of the court's time and the jury's time. She's purposely interrupting the flow of this examination, and she's making argument. Court says, she's got a valid objection. That's fine. Ms. Bredehoff, the next 2 are the same part of the one. Same one, Your Honor. She's saying, Ms. Vasquez, clearly I can't, Ms. Bredehoff. Ms. Bredehoff says, she wants to keep that out, but that's the only part of the exact same exchange. The court says, on direct, redirect, if you want to put it in there, I don't know if that answers your case, but if you want to put that in there and redirect, you can redirect it on it, okay? They said, thank you. Elaine's objection gets overruled. Bredehoff says, you cannot impeach someone else's testimony. We have to impeach with them. The witness's testimony. She's testifying to what Ms. Lloyd testified to, attempting to impeach her, and that's improper. Camille Vasquez says, I'm not impeaching her with this testimony. I'm stating what the statements have been made in court. Sorry. The court says, during this trial, Ms. Vasquez says, during this trial, Ms. Bredehoff, and that's hearsay. For her to testify to what she says somebody else testified, the court says, that's not. I'll overrule the objection. They say, thank you. Sidebar 5. What do we have? Sidebar 5. 5135. Sidebar number 5. Continuing with Camille Vasquez. This is the journal that you and Mr. Depp kept with each other in electronic form, correct? Amber Heard says, that's correct. Vasquez, if we can scroll up through, these are all the entries that you made in the journal. Is that correct? Is it done? Uh-huh. Yes. Ms. Vasquez, I'm going to move the admission for Plaintiff Exhibit 91A, and I've gone ahead and redacted Mr. Depp's writings as on hearsay grounds. Bredehoff says, I'm going to object, Your Honor. May we approach? Court says, okay. Bredehoff, Your Honor, I'm going to object on the basis of Rule 2106. When part of the writing or recorded statement is introduced by a party upon motion by another party, the court may require the offering party to introduce any other part of the writing or recorded statement, which ought to be in fairness to be considered contemporaneously with it, unless such additional portions are inadmissible under the rules of the evidence. Which would be inadmissible, hearsay. Well, I don't know. I mean, I didn't have the opportunity to see which one she was going to move. She's putting in Miss Hurt's statements, not Mr. Depp's statements. But is she doing all of Miss Hurt's statements or just one? Some of them, says Camille. The court, some of them. Miss Bredehoff. Then I would like to see if, in fairness, others of Miss Hurt's should be on there as well. The court says, I overrule the objection. Camille says, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we got sidebar number 6 with Elaine and her microphone. She gives Judge Penny an excuse as to why her microphone is not working, and Judge Penny doesn't buy it. Camille asks, this is an email you sent on February 1st, 2015, correct? That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Okay, I'm going to move to admonish and publish Plaintiff Exhibits 1262. Any objections? Yes, Your Honor. May we approach the court? Sure. The court says, we'll get you down with that microphone eventually. Ms. Bredehoff, it turns off on its own, Your Honor. I put it on, then I don't realize it's off. The court, I don't think so. The court, Elaine says, I have to object more often so that it stays on. Maybe this is just Elaine trying to be funny and trying to be silly or something. Oh, man. I mean, you can object, Elaine. Just make sure, there are good objections. The court says, all right, what's your objection? Elaine says, this was produced after. This is not the exhibits that defendants have. Camille Vasquez says, I don't think that's true. Ms. Bredehoff, 1262, which was not in their trial exhibits. Is it in your evidence? Well, nonetheless, this is an email from Ms. Hurd. I'm not certain that that's not true, first and foremost. Second of all, this is an email from Ms. Hurd. Okay. And I can use her statements after the fact. All right. But it's not for impeachment purposes. The court, it's the plaintiffs. Camille Vasquez says, plaintiffs, yes. Ms. Bredehoff, it should have been provided in discovery, Your Honor. We produced our exhibits. Camille Vasquez, it's not direct examination. But it's not impeachment. There's nothing about it that's impeachment. It is. It's her statement. It's an email. She just testified I laid the foundation. And frankly, Ms. Hurd should have produced this. This is her email, Ms. Bredehoff. She should have produced it. Bredehoff says, this was produced in discovery. This was in discovery. She was asked about it in the UK, Your Honor. Camille Vasquez says, so it was produced in discovery. What's your objection? The court, what's your objection? All right, so the court's like, okay, so Elaine, what's your objection here? I'm like, come on now, Elaine. Ms. Bredehoff says, because it's not a trial exhibit. That's what we got objected to. The court says, I think it's Exhibit A. It's in Exhibit Elaine. It's not one of our exhibits. Ms. Vasquez says, it has a Bates number. It was produced in discovery. It's my exhibit. Ms. Bredehoff, it's not a trial exhibit. The court, it's cross-examination now. But it's not an impeachment. There's nothing that impeaches her. Judge Penny, I'll overrule the objection. Oh, man. Okay, so we have some Camille versus Elaine's. The court says, Ms. Bredehoff says, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Vasquez. Your Honor has already overruled Ms. Bredehoff's objection that it's not on our exhibits list. I know, for cross-examination, you did it too. We entered new evidence for your cross-examination. Your Honor, we didn't allow any of our evidence in. No, that's not true. Cross-examination. Here's all the 1804, 1558. Bredehoff says, these were pictures from Ben King, Your Honor. That's the only ones we're allowed in. And that's because they didn't produce them in discovery. Ms. Vasquez says, cross-examination doesn't have to be on the exhibits list. Bredehoff, they have to give us an unredacted copy so we can see it. The court says, I understand it now, but it doesn't have to be on their exhibit list to have cross-examination. You agree with that, right? Well, it depends. I think it depends on the circumstances, Your Honor, whether it has to. Cross-examining just doesn't. If it's for impeachment purposes and rebuttal purposes, yes, the scheduling order was quite clear. If it's not on the exhibit list and it's not for impeachment, it's not permitted in. Depends on whether it's for impeachment or rebuttal. Court says, well, we're past that. Ms. Bredehoff, I don't know what this document is. The court, if you need to see it, but they need to see the unredacted part. So she's probably looking at Camille. Camille says, the only redacted part, Your Honor, is that I'm going to show her one text message. The only thing redacted is personal identifiers. The court, There's a whole chunk in there. I just don't know what's there. Vasquez says, there's text messages from other people. I was trying to make things a little easier. This is how Ms. Bredahop produced her text messages. So it has text messages from a bunch of people. The court, is there something that was supplied to you from them? Yes. Do you have the discovery? It's there. I mean, this is how Miss Heard produced her text messages. Ms. Bredahop, we gave copies to them of everything that we had, Your Honor. They're now indiscernible, not giving us copies. But then they're giving us copies of redactions. We need to be able to look at it. Oh, the court says, I agree. We finally agree with Elaine. Ms. Vasquez says, it's just a text message. The only thing redacted is this one text message that I would like to present. It's hers. The court, I understand, but they're entitled to see the unredacted page. Gigi says, boggles the mind how even after they determined she was using multiples of the same photos to prove abuse, that people still believe her, even after her own sister insinuated that she got her ass beat by her sister. Same, but most of them are diehard believers that women cannot be abusers and men can never be abused, or those who have an agenda to push for siding with Heard. Yeah, I just thought it was really crazy how there were some still like news outlets after the trial happened. I don't know. It was like the news outlets were too scared to report that Johnny Depp was the one that was abused. I thought that was kind of crazy, despite all the evidence that was shown and how basically Amber Heard bombed her own, she bombed her own stories. I don't know. I thought it was wild to me. It's like this man went through so much to prove so much that even at the end, like, I don't know, people were still too scared to side with Johnny Depp and people were still too scared to say that he was the victim of abuse. Yeah, that was pretty crazy to me. Do you have a background in law? No, I do not. Hello, what if anything? Hi, Leila. How are you doing today? How's it going? Yeah, Netflix, not reliable. All right, who's next? Sidebar number 8. So I think it continues on for a little bit. We finally have the court agrees with Elaine. And then I think we go into sidebar pretty quickly, actually. Yeah, there's the next sidebar. So Camille in open court says, I'm going to show the unredacted message to counsel for Ms. Heard on the laptop because I don't have a copy. Court says, okay. Ms. Bredahop, let's just approach for a minute. The court says, what's that? Ms. Bredahop, during the lunch break, Your Honor, can they give us hard copies? So at least I'm not asking them to give it to me in advance, but if they don't have hard copies, at least during the lunch break, the court, they'll give you hard copies for the ones at lunchtime moving forward. Ms. Bredahop, moving forward. The court, moving forward. Ms. Bredahop, that's fine. And then hard copies of whatever they can't give me now. The court, right now, you'll just look at the laptop. Ms. Bredahop, I understand. Camille Vasquez says she'll produce it. Ms. Bredahop, but at the lunch break, if they can give it to me, the hard copies. The court, that's fine. At lunchtime. Elaine loves repeating herself so much, man. For years, it was sprung up because of the video of him slamming the cabinets. Like her was violent, but now with the context, he was grieving his mother in his own home, slamming the cabinets. Like, who cares? Yeah. And then it's just wild to me how, I don't know. Like initially before the trial happened, I think everyone was like on Amber Heard's side, There was like a small niche group of people that were like probably like, pro Depp no matter what. And there was probably like some other group of people who like knew about the ins. Like I didn't know about any of the Depp v. Heard stuff at all. But like there was like some other like YouTubers that had already covered this like way before the trial happened. Like it was the Umbrella guy and then the other YouTuber Brian. Like they've been covering this for a very long time. But it's just wild how like back then, like people were on Amber Heard's side. They believed her side of the story. And the fact that the UK trial was in favor of the newspaper, that probably emboldened her even more. She was doing her like, press tours, talking about how she donated the funds and all that stuff. Like they were all on her side. But imagine the reason why people ended up switching sides was because they saw the actual trial and they, were able to see the evidence live and they saw her testimony. So I still don't know what's like being so debated about. I think it's just so ridiculous. I don't know. At this point, I don't really fucking care. But I'm glad that he was able to have his day in court, I don't know why, but also I think they would have to lose credibility, but they would have to gain it by going, hey, we got this wrong. She was trying to convince him and she's like trying to leave this room. Yeah. Like when you hear so like when Camille Vasquez is cross-examining her about things that she's lied about or about the audio recordings, to see her dodge the questions and to see her manipulate certain, I don't know, man. Like she's like Dude, it's crazy. It's like talking to like a master manipulator. You know, when you ask someone like, "Oh, did you cheat on me last night?" and they're like, did I cheat on you last night?" And you know how like it's like no. And then later on they're like, "Well, I found out you did cheat on me, and you cheated on me with I don't know, your ex-wife." It's like, well, it's technically not cheating because she's my ex-wife and we're still married. Like, you know, stuff like that. Like, I don't know. She was like, the way that she was like answering the questions, like with the door thing. I think we'll actually get to the door thing. Remember when Johnny Depp says that Amber Heard was like chasing him to the bathroom and he was trying to close the door on her, and then like she was trying to break in. And I think at some point she thought that Johnny Depp had on purpose closed the door on her foot. She got mad. She punched him in the face. The way that like she responded to that entire dispute and tried to rewrite the narrative was just really silly. I don't know, to see that happen in real time, to see her do the mental gymnastics to like get her way out of it was just like fucking, it was crazy. Yeah, the pledge and the donation thing, that was a huge one too, right? So this is a person who won't admit to like anything. I think like there are some things there's a lot of things that like when you're faced with like the truth that's like indisputable, just fucking admit it, dude. Just fucking admit it. Otherwise, your credibility just goes down the fucking drain. But yeah. The scissor finger. Yeah, I can't trust John if he lied about having scissor fingers. Pfft. Next thing you know, he's even a captain. Dude, he better be a fucking captain or we're all going to be disappointed. Oh, man. Okay, so sidebar number 8. Camille versus Elaine. Do we get this one in? Judge Penny had to repeat herself. Oh, this is when I think Elaine might realize that she's annoying Judge Penny. But she catches herself, and I think she like quickly apologized. So the court says, "What's the objection?" Ms. Bredehoff, again, she's reciting other people's testimony. Which one? Her version of those. Can do. Miss Heard is responding exactly correct. Officer Sines said she didn't consider that an injury, and then that was when she was seeing the picture, but her original testimony in the deposition we played was that she didn't see any injuries. You showed her a picture. She said she didn't consider that an injury. Ms. Vasquez says, 2 different things. Ms. Bredehoff, it's just improper cross-examination. The court, it's not improper. It's not an out-of-court statement. It's an in-court statement. It's Ms. Vasquez testifying to what that woman testified to. It's hearsay. The court, it's not hearsay. I've sustained this over and over, and for the record, you can have an ongoing objection. Ms. Bredehoff, thank you. The court overruled. Ms. Bredehoff says, this time, in addition to that objection, Ms. Heard is correctly characterizing what Officer Sines testified to. Ms. Vasquez, no, she's not. The court, no. I was just told that was 2 different statements made by the officer. And on a redirect, you get to come up and say exactly what happened, Ms. Bredehoff, okay? But please, also, don't be so animated when you lose an objection. Last time you left here, the court, I apologize. I caught myself right after. The court, I almost brought you right back. I almost dragged your ass right back over here. Admonished you. Oh, Ms. Bredehoff, I apologize. I did not mean to do that. And you're right. I should not have done that. The court, I will call you back next time. Don't do it again. Oh, Ms. Bredehoff, I won't. Everyone says, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, man, Elaine is just getting frustrated, and she's showing that frustration. Next sidebar, Camille will show AH headlines from articles. This is what Roddenborn did to JD. Remember when JD was testifying and then during the cross-examination, Mr. Roddenborn had a bunch of articles he was reading off of, and he's reading off the headlines. Well, they're going to try to do the same thing with Amber Heard. Okay, so the court says, okay, the articles. Ms. Vasquez, the articles. Okay, so obviously, here's a copy for you, Your Honor. Sure. So I plan on doing the same with these things, Your Honor. Ms. Bredehoff, these are all new exhibits that point to Miss Heard. They can't possibly be the reason why they wouldn't put them in this trial exhibits before. They knew that she was going to be making these claims. This is exactly what Ms. Roddenborn did to the cross-examination of Mr. Depp, and they're not going to be admitted into evidence. I just plan to read the headlines and read the headlines like he did. There you go, Ms. Bredehoff. First of all, Your Honor, let me put it on the record. It is not correct that exactly what Mr. Roddenborn did. Those were in the trial exhibits. In fact, they're the very first part of our trial exhibits were all of those. So I do have an ongoing objection to using anything that wasn't put into evidence as part of trial exhibits. They knew she had a counterclaim. They should have had it as a defense, part of those exhibits. Court. I understand your observation. Again, it's cross-examination. I'll allow them. I want to give you an opportunity. You're not going to the text of the articles. You're just talking about the titles, the dates. I plan to read the title and then I'm not going to admit them into evidence. Not into evidence. We need copies. You'll get the copies. I will get you the copies. The court. And you're saying all these are for the 3 statements? Ms. Vasquez says yes. Court says okay. Ms. Vasquez says there you go. Ms. Bredehoff, Your Honor, I have a question. Court says sure. Ms. Bredehoff, if we can look at 1272 for a moment, and that's May 29, 2020, which is after 2 of the... I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Oh, I'm sorry. That won't help me. I appreciate. That's not me. That's Judy. Which one? Wait, what? Was Elaine talking to the wrong person or something? I know Judy's up there. This is why I wish we could see the footages of the... This is why I wish I could see the footages of the sidebars, you know? We need the body language. Okay. Remind me again. 2 of the April 8th, April 28th, and the court June 28th laminated. It helps me. So that May 2020 would be after 2 statements. That's right, Your Honor. And I think for relevance, Ms. Bredehoff's objection is that they're not being cited in the title to Mr. Waldman's statement. It's talking about another allegation that was out in the press, indiscernible statements. So for Ms. Hurd to allege Mr. Waldman's statements caused her to lose opportunities, there's an article before and after that were in the press. And I think we have indiscernible to argue that, Your Honor. So, Your Honor, I'm going to try to keep up, Your Honor. That's all right. Take your time. This last one is 1273, Your Honor. I don't see the date on it. 1273. I don't see the date on it either. May 24th, 2020. Yeah, so we'll take out 1273. I'll sustain the objection on 1273. Elaine says, Your Honor, I think to object 1274 too. And that title, I think it's not indiscernible, a reputational issue for her if somebody makes an allegation about her having an affair. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think that's indiscernible. Yeah, okay, all right. More indiscernibles, Camille. I mean, we have admitted evidence today about her having an affair with James Franco the night on April 21st. So these are all allegations. Bredehoff, it's not an allegation. The court, I'll take that objection on this one. All right, is there any more? So they're going through other exhibits, number, articles. Ms. Vasquez says, Your Honor, again, it's surrounding indiscernible about the statements that were indiscernible. Court says, so you're saying, so you're not offering just for her reputation before, you're offering for the reputation after as well, the effects her reputation. Ms. Bredehoff, I think that opens up the door, Your Honor, to the UK judgment. They want the UK judgment to come in so much. I think she gets indiscernible. She opens up that door. She's doing damages. She has a limit to her damages. She's starting her damages after 2020, correct? Your Honor, this is one testimony from the trial that says, Amber Heard stole my sexual assault story. X8 tells a libel trial. Right. We've had a lot of testimony from the UK. I feel like I've been at the UK trial. I don't see how that would open any door. Ms. Vasquez, it's public knowledge, Your Honor. Ms. Bredehoff, I also don't think that's an appropriate one. Again, she's testifying. She testified here. Just the headlines to talk about her reputation. That's not in public, about her reputation. I mean, I did about 25 on Mr. Depp on all kinds of different issues of reputation. I think that goes to damages. Any other one? Sorry, Your Honor. Note my objection. But I understand your ruling. The court, I'll note your objection. I'll overrule your objection. Thank you. I appreciate it. Any more? I said last one. Okay. Elaine says sorry that she's slow. The court says don't worry. Take your time. Elaine says this one. The court says, all right, she didn't have... When did she file this lawsuit? Maybe I don't have that clear. When did she file her counter? Ms. Bredehoff, August 10, 2020. The court, okay. So these are all before that. I'm just making sure. I don't have that on my sheet. Elaine says, Ms. Bredehoff, they're filing a complaint. The court says, since you're going to put them on the screen for her, just identify them so Jamie can know. It's not been identified. Ms. Bredehoff, just be clear, Your Honor. These are 4, da-da-da-da. So they keep talking about different ones. These are all the articles. Ms. Bredehoff, I think it's ending soon. Okay, Ms. Bredehoff says, may I ask while we're here, how long you're going to take with her today? Are you going to go for the rest of the day? Ms. Vasquez, no, I'm not going for the rest of the day. The court, I assume you'll have these questions and then we'll break. Is that okay? I feel like Elaine probably wants Camille to go for the rest of the day. That way she'll have time to like regroup and just like get the day ready for the redirect. Because when Elaine does the redirect today, it was a hot fucking mess, man. It was just so bad. Yeah, Ronan Bourne was the best lawyer on the AH team. Nadal was okay too. Elaine was just, I don't know, Elaine. Oy, 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 oy. Okay. So they're not going to go for the rest of the day. Then they'll have a break. Everyone's good. Everyone's happy. All right. Sideboard number 12. Camille wants to dispute AH's testimony about JD not leaving her alone. Oh, claims that AH fired the first shot before the op-ed. Yeah, this is pretty interesting to read. Okay. So the court says, all right, yes. So I plan to, okay, ask Ms. Hurt about, the arbitration. So Ms. Hurt, arbitration, was served with an arbitration demand. And arbitration for what? Defamation. The arbitration for this case? Yeah. No, it was a breach of contract. No, it was a defamation, and I have it was a defamation, a demand for the arbitration for defamation in California in October 2018. We've argued that, okay, and I'll give it to you, okay, that Ms. Hurd opened the door when she talked yesterday in response to Ms. Bretterhoff's question about how Mr. Waldman's statements, had been traumatizing her, and she said, I just want him to leave me alone. I wanted to move on with my life, and he won't let me. By making cases like this, he won't let me. I have to be here today. I have to be reliving it every day. Right? So we're arguing that she opened the door when she was the one who fired the first initial shot, when she attempted to move arbitration against Mr. Depp 2 months before the op-ed was even published. So it was October 2018. The op-ed was published in December. Okay, give me more background for this arbitration. What was this arbitration about? Ms. Hurd's arbitration actually filed by Ms. Hurd in California before the op-ed. It goes towards the statements that she can't, indiscernible, Mr. Depp suing her, so that distorts her credibility. Okay, and she filed for arbitration for it. Filed for arbitration for defamation. Defamation for what? For Mr. Depp denying an article, a GQ article, that he ever hit her. Okay, Ms. Bretterhoff, this is a subject of motion in limine. Your Honor granted a motion in limine and said none of the arbitration can come in. The arbitration was filed to go back to the divorce, and it was a breach of contract, a violation of, right, so it was a divorce, all right, okay. The divorce decree, okay. The judge the arbitrator ended up finding he did not have jurisdiction. That was the end of it. There was no finding, there was no nothing, okay. But you just want to get that filed into arbitration? Right. I don't think she said anything about arbitration. I was just saying that he violated the terms of the domestic relations order. He didn't deny a public filing. It was very, very private. Okay, all right. I remember this now. Okay, sorry. Yeah, in dealing with the divorce arbitration, she's saying that he violated the terms of the agreement by this gentleman's quarterly article that he wrote. Is that what GQ stands for? Gentleman's Quarterly? I actually never knew what GQ stood for. I thought GQ stood for something else, good quality or something. Ms. Vasquez says, it wasn't violating the divorce agreement. It was an actual, indiscernible, demand arbitration for defamation. The cause of action was defamation. I have the exhibits. So the fact that she filed it before the op-ed came out is highly relevant. And she opened the door with her testimony that Mr. Depp won't leave her alone. And she filed a counterclaim after the fact. So I think it's relevant, Your Honor. She opened the door. She said these counterclaim statements continue to make things difficult for her, and she can't stop reliving it. But in fact, she's the one that fired the first shot. She just wanted to be left alone. Well then, why did she demand arbitration? Okay. I don't think that opens the door at all, Your Honor. This was an arbitration filing that arbitrator found there was no jurisdiction, so he dismissed it, and she didn't do anything further. I know, but she followed it. What she's saying is because she testified that I wanted to be left alone, I don't want to have anything to do with it, but then she filed this, so I'll allow limited questioning. Very limited, Your Honor. What was the questions you're going to ask? The questions are, I want to repeat her testimony from yesterday. Okay. In which she says that she wants to be left alone. I'm going to ask her, you commenced a legal proceeding against Mr. Depp for defamation in October of 2018, and that was indiscernible allegations. And then commence an arbitration, right? Yeah, and I think she can't say legal proceedings because arbitrations are very different. It's different. I agree. Commence an arbitration. I understand. I'm happy to do it that way. And then I wanted to look at the demand for arbitration. I'm not planning on publishing it. I think you get the first question, but that's all I'm going to do. This is the demand for arbitration filed against Mr. Depp in California, correct? I don't know how that's relevant. No, I think she opened the door with the first question about you did file it. My question is, is that Amber Heard plaintiff versus Johnny C. Depp? I just want to show the captions. Why would she need to do that? She can just, in the signature block signed by her attorneys, she testified that. I'll give you the first question, but I think that's fair since she's and the date of when it happened. Okay. And can you confirm that it was October 2018? Okay. That's 2 months before the op-ed was posted. That's fine. And 6 months before Mr. Depp filed the defamation case. That's fine. Very limited. Nothing beyond that. Okay. Thank you very much. We got what's a dispute, and we're gonna get to sidebar number 13. Okay, so I'm gonna read a little bit of the open court, and sidebar is gonna happen pretty quickly. Okay, Ms. Vasquez says, Tom, may I ask you to put up Plaintiff's Exhibit 881A? Ms. Heard, I'm going to ask you to take a look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 881A. This is the one of the articles containing the counterclaim statements by Adam Waldman. Is that correct? I haven't seen the article yet. Okay, why don't we go to page 8 of this article? Adam Waldman, Depp's lawyer, said afterwards Amber Heard and a friend of the media used fake sexual violence allegation as both a sword and shield, depending on their need. They have selected some of their sexual violence hoax facts as a sword, inflicting them on public and Mr. Depp. Do you see that? Yes, I do. Is that one of the statements that you allege are defamatory? That's correct. Defamatory? That's correct. Can we go to exhibit? And Plaintiff's Exhibit 881B, Depp's lawyer Adam Waldman said the various discrepancies prove that nothing Heard and her friends said about the events of May 21st, 2016 should be considered credible. Quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They said Mr. Depp by calling the cops, You guys know the whole thing. The lawyers came, they spilled a little bit of wine. Ms. Vasquez says, I apologize. Ms. Bredhoff says, may we approach? Bredhoff says, she's reading beyond his statements. Ms. Vasquez, I stopped myself. The court, she stopped herself. Oh, the court says she stopped herself. Ms. Bredhoff, okay. Ms. Vasquez, actually, Your Honor, while we're up here, I tried to work this out with Ms. Bredhoff. Unsurprising to you, we were unable to come to an agreement. I'm going to move to admit these articles in their entirety. Okay. And the reason is, Your Honor, is that it's just like the op-ed. It came in the entirety, even though Ms. Heard is only alleging 3 of the statements. Correct. In the article, and I think for defamation, you have to look at the context. Correct. So to evaluate the defamatory meaning, so on that basis, I'm going to admit to move it. Elaine says, I'm going to object, Your Honor. There's a lot of hearsay in both these documents. It's different than the op-ed. The op-ed is Amber Heard writing the op-ed, and then it is to be questioned on. There's also an issue of matter of public concern and intent here. The rest of this article is not Adam Waldman's and is not Johnny Depp. It's other people saying things. It's hearsay and it's highly prejudicial to Ms. Heard. Okay. Well, I disagree. And it doesn't have anything to do with the context of what he said. This might be a partial. Maybe it can be connected to, I think, if I may just be heard on this, all right. It's really important to Mr. Depp, obviously. The defamation meaning of the alleged defamatory meaning of Mr. Waldman's statements have to be read in context. And I should point out to Your Honor, that Ms. Heard, not Ms. Bredhoff, but previously Ms. Heard was represented by other attorneys in this matter, and we're commenting in this article. So Mr. Waldman's statements are really response. We argue, right? I'm not sure Ms. Bredhoff will agree or disagree. We agree that these statements are opinions, first and foremost, and second of all, they are response or self-defense of Mr. Depp in his case. So, it's important that these articles come in their entirety. And again, to be perfectly frank, these aren't great articles for Mr. Depp. I don't plan to publish them to the jury. I just want to submit them into evidence. Ooh, I need some water. She regret the op-ed thing so much? Yeah, I'm sure she does. If she just shut the fuck up and not do the op-ed thing, she would have been, doing Aquaman 2, probably getting some other gigs, and I'm sure Johnny Depp would have just fucked off into eternity. I don't know, into like nothingness or something. Yeah. But she did the op-ed. She got greedy, All right, so Ms. Bredhoff responds, if I may be heard on that, Mr. Waldman doesn't know what else is in the article when he makes those statements. That's somebody else choosing where to put different things. He has admitted that we will be putting the testimony in that he made those statements, but he wasn't the author of the article. So the context is not relevant. Content is not relevant to what their meeting was on it. Instead, it would have a lot of hearsay from other people that had no control over. He had control over what he said, and he was not saying there's no way they could prove that he had knowledge of what the rest of the article was going to say and therefore have context. I think it's highly prejudicial and very much hearsay. The court says, all right, so how could the context of the article change the extent of 714? Camille says, defamatory statements have to be read in the context of other texts within the article. If it's all attributed to Mr. Waldman. No, I think that's true. I mean, I think so, because someone else can't place the statements there and it becomes defamatory because they're placed within the article. I think they have to be read in context, Your Honor. I'm going to sustain the objection. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone says thank you. Now we got sidebar. We're going to read to sidebar number 13. All right, what do we got here? Camille, this is another article, Ms. Heard, where you argue with Mr. Waldman's statements are defamatory, correct? Amber says, I don't know if it's taken from what the article because I can't see the article in full. It's page 11 of the article, and the statement reads, we have reached the beginning of the end of Ms. Heard's abuse hoax against Mr. Depp. Is that correct? Is that one of the defamatory statements that you claim is one of the defamatory statements by Mr. Waldman? She replies, I believe so. Okay, thank you. Ms. Heard, you're not aware of any career opportunities that you lost as a result of Mr. Waldman's statements, are you? Well, it's kind of hard to point to the jobs you're not offered, to the things you don't get. You were not replaced in Aquaman 2, were you? They released me from my contract and I fought to stay in it. They kept me in it. I just don't know how much I'm in, actually, of the final cut. And you testified yesterday that L'Oreal actually extended your contract in April of 2020. Is that correct? In part. They extended it and held me. And you testified yesterday L'Oreal extended your contract again, November 2021. Not exactly. They extended because they couldn't use me or any of the materials for me. And that extension was for 20 months, correct? That's correct. Ms. Heard, you testified yesterday how Mr. Waldman's statements torture you every day. Do you recall this testimony? I do. And then you look at them every day. I look at the online attacks, the media. You can't avoid it, to be honest. Those statements are often attached to, I don't look at his statements every day. And you testified that you just want to move on with your life, right? I do very much want to move on with my life. Well, you've gone out of your way to engage with Mr. Waldman on social media, haven't you? I have made a comment, I believe, once. I would not characterize that as engaging with him. Let's pull up exhibits 1266. Ms. Broderhoff says, Your Honor, I don't have this yet. The court, your microphone. Elaine says, Your Honor, I don't have this one yet, but I'm asking it to be given to me before. It's just a photograph. I think it's just, okay. This is your tweet, right, Ms. Heard? That is correct. I'm going to move to admit and publish this tweet. I'm going to object on relevance. The objection, I'm sorry. What's the relevance? I'm sorry, relevance. I'll overrule the objection. 881C in evidence. Ms. Vasquez, can we please have it published to the jury? I'm sorry, 1266. I apologize. Thank you, Your Honor. This is from March 26, 2021, right? That's what it looks like, yes. And this is what he made the statement that you claim. The statements you claim are defamatory, right, Ms. Heard? 21, yes. Ms. Heard, you tweeted Adam Waldman. Yes, Mr. Waldman, I may be wearing makeup on this occasion, but every occasion you will still be short. Did I read that right? Yes. What are we reading this into? Sidebar 13. Where's sidebar 13 at? Sidebar 12. 5299. Oh, this is pretty long, actually. 13. 14. Oh, I think I read. Oopsies. I was like, wait a second. Where's the other sidebar? I think I read a little too much. Okay, we're at sidebar 14. Let's back it up a little bit though just for context. Okay, so Camille plays AH's deposition. Oh, do you guys remember the deposition that was filmed in 2016? It was like shortly after when they were filing for the divorce. Remember her demeanor in the videotape? How just her body language, her face, like versus how she is on the stand when she's up there and she's like crying and stuff like that. You would think that like when something is more fresh in your mind, you'd be more upset about it than years and years later when you're crying about it up on the stand. I don't know. That's why a lot of people just thought that she was extremely performative. Okay, so Camille's going to say, again, that's you and Mr. Depp in the recording. That's correct. And Mr. Depp was hiding from you in the bathroom. Incorrect. Isn't that right, Miss Heard? Incorrect. Well, Mr. Depp said on the recording, I opened the bathroom door when you were knocking on it, doesn't he? I don't know if he said that, and I didn't hear that. And Mr. Depp says, when I was trying to close the door, I guess it scraped your toes. He says that, doesn't he? Correct. And then you kicked the bathroom door into his head, didn't you? No, I didn't. And then you punched him in the jaw. I defended myself in the audio. You can hear it for yourself. In the audio, it does not sound like, this is where she's just like, I don't know, the lies are just so bad, where she should just admit it. Like she was just pissed off and she went after him. But she's like, no, I defended him. I was defending myself, but you kicked into the door and then you punched him into the face. It didn't sound like you were defending him. It sounded like you were truly the aggressor and he was trying to run away. Camille says, right. And then you punch him into the jaw. I also did not do that. I tried to make that clear in the audio tape too, in futility. Mr. Depp says, you meant to punch me in the jaw, right? Are you asking me what he said in the recording? Yeah. Yeah, he said that. And then you responded, I didn't mean to hit you, didn't you? Oh, that's right. Wait, I forgot what her excuse for this was. She says, as I explained yesterday, I was trying to get him off the door. And you remember, I did mean to hit you. Meaning the door. The door was on my feet. I reacted instantly to that. You've heard this audio before, haven't you, misheard? Yeah, we've had this trial before. Yeah, it was played for you when you were deposed in 2016 in connection with your divorce from Mr. Depp, wasn't it? That was one of the times I've heard it. Okay, so we've had plenty of time to think about how you responded to the recording, haven't you? I don't know what you mean about that. Well, let's take a look at how you responded the first time. Can we please pull up the exhibit 1261? Ms. Bradhouse says, Your Honor. Yeah, see the door incident thing? She should have just admitted it. Like, I don't know why she's like... when she responded to Camille's questions, it didn't really make sense anyways. It's like, this is what happens when you're caught in a lie and you're trying to answer without really answering, but then your answers don't even really make sense. I don't know. I think when the recordings dropped, a lot of people that followed this like way before the trial happened, I think that's when people in like Heard Circle, and then maybe like people are starting to realize like, hey, wait, actually, hold on a second. Maybe Johnny Depp isn't the abuser after all. But I think like at that time, it wasn't like enough to really fully convince people. I think people were probably still on team AH, but I think that was when like people were starting to like, maybe there's some fuckery around here. Okay, so we're doing a sidebar right now. The court says, this is her deposition. Ms. Vasquez, correct. It's in the divorce proceedings. You've got to give us a reference point. I apologize. So we know. Ms. Heard was being deposed and we played this recording. That's improper where you impeach. You need to ask the question and then ask if her answer is different from her deposition. Then she can play the answer and the question and the answer. The court, this is cross-examination. Well, I understand. It's still cross-examination, but there's still a proper way to impeach and an improper. You can't just play the deposition excerpt and say, so. She did ask the question. She said, let's see how you did the first time. So I assume it's a different answer to that question, but I don't have a copy of that. I just would like to know where we are referencing the deposition. Absolutely. The deposition, if we could, get the line and the page number. The line, the page number, I will, Okay, thank you. Elaine objects to captions on the audio, which is, I think this is a legit objection from Elaine. Elaine says, I object to them playing it. They've got the transcription on there. It's not appropriate. They want to play the video deposition. That's one thing, but all right, I'll talk to them about it. Yeah, they can do it through reading the deposition, Your Honor. They don't need to do that. I asked them to take it off the screen. Could you take it off the screen, please? Your Honor, we're just going to put something over it. Okay, thank you. Fine. Okay, so they played the audio for them, the deposition. Remember, we're talking about who shot first. So Camille, they had a sidebar already about Camille saying that she thought Amber Heard fired the first shots when she was going after Johnny Depp in a arbitration. And then Camille finally brings it up to Amber Heard. So they're doing a sidebar right now. And Camille says, now that she said that she doesn't recall, I think I just have to show it to her to refresh in her collection, just to refresh her recollection. I'm not going to publish to the jury. I would have to say, Your Honor, in this deposition, she didn't have any recollection of this either. She's entitled to see if it refreshes her recollection. That's it. You just have to show it to her and say, does this refresh her recollection? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna, this is a string of, we're gonna read a lot. Okay, I'm gonna keep reading. So Camille says, pull up exhibit 219. And Ms. Heard, if you could, please read to yourself the first page of the exhibit 219. All right. And if you could also read to yourself exhibit 219. Yes. And if you could, scroll down, Tom. Again, Ms. Heard, just look at the page. And then scroll down, next page. Does this refresh your recollection, Ms. Heard, that you did in fact on October 2018, 2 months before you published the op-ed in this case, that the subject of this case, you initiated an arbitration against Mr. Depp for defamation? It's not my understanding I initiated an arbitration. It's my understanding that our lawyer sent a letter to his lawyers after he called me a liar again, effectively in an interview. And that's 2 months before your op-ed that was published in December of 2018, right? That's correct. And that's 6 months before Mr. Depp filed this case against you, correct? That's correct. And you filed the first shot, not Mr. Depp. I disagree. We sent a letter. See, it's things like that. It's like, we sent a letter. Okay, but what's that point of the letter? Okay, thank you. Ms. Heard, isn't it true that you once filled up a customs form falsely so you could... Ms. Bredehoff, oh, this is the Australia thing. Objection, Your Honor. May we approach? Your Honor, this is a subject of motion in limine that you denied. Your Honor said that if we were going to raise it, they had to approach. All right, let's take a look. Is it the... It's the customs form. She pled guilty. She was charged with falsifying a document in Australia. Okay. Your Honor ruled that this was allowed. All right. Which one was it? Do you remember? Your Honor, may I grab my... Yes, go ahead. Motion limine. So I believe it's motion limine number 2. Number 2, right. Doesn't say that we have to approach. Subject to objections at trial. Correct. Approach the bench for raising. So sorry, Your Honor. I didn't see that. Okay, all right. So what are we trying to raise here? That Ms. Heard pleaded guilty to falsifying a document in Australia. All right, so that would be number 2. Correct. Correct, Your Honor. And in this situation, it did not result in a conviction. Correct. It was not charged in perjury. Okay. And it was not a crime involving moral turpitude. And the court specifically found that she did not intentionally mislead the document. Okay. What's the basis of bringing this up? That she pleaded guilty to falsifying document and essentially committing perjury, which is a crime of moral turpitude. It's highly relevant to her testimony. She wasn't convicted. She pleaded guilty, though. She was charged and pleaded guilty. She didn't have to be convicted because she pled guilty. Yeah, for crimes of moral turpitude, it has to be a conviction. Elaine says, and there was not. But the basis for you getting it in just to show a crime of moral turpitude, correct? Correct. It wasn't a conviction, so it doesn't come in for that. While we're up here, are you planning on any of the other ones so we can cover them before? You approached right before. Well, we've already approached about the topic and Your Honor ruled. That took care of that one. So are we going to do anything with immigration? No. All right. Thank you. Back in open court. Ms. Heard, you testified yesterday that when you left the courthouse after obtaining the domestic violence order against Mr. Depp, you walked out into a sea of paparazzi and cameras, right? That's correct. You testified that you're surprised to see the sea of cameras. That's correct. Because it was quiet when you went to the courthouse that morning. And the divorce had remained on the radar up to that point. You testified that no one knew about your divorce, so you thought it was going to stay that way, right? No, I figured it would come out. I just tried to buy time. You knew the media had been alerted that you were filing for divorce, right, Ms. Heard? No, I just knew that it would be impossible to do it privately, so you could just hope it was just a matter of time. You knew they were going to be there, didn't you? No, I did not. I assumed since it was a public building that there's like a likelihood, not likelihood, but possibility. But I was shocked. Your publicist, Jody Gottlieb, was there with you at the courthouse, wasn't she? Yes, she was. So you anticipated that you might need your publicist? I thought that filing might I was told the filing was public, that it would be impossible. There's no way for you to do a private filing. And the second that I filed for the TRO, it would be public news. I didn't expect all those cameras and I didn't expect. Oh man, this is when she walked through the crowd of the paparazzi. And you know what? If you're hiding your bruise, you would wear sunglasses, right? She didn't. She had no sunglasses on. And this is the first time we really see her hair is like super tucked in like this, just so you could prominently see the bruise on her face. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she was so shocked. Oh, man. What yeah, there's so much fuckery going on. Good Lord. Okay. I didn't expect all the photographers, cameras to show up at the courthouse in real time, but they did. If we could, please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1280. This is a clip from the divorce deposition. And you have at page, if I can alert you, you have a transcript here, page 74, line 22. You said 874, 74. Okay, which line? Sidebar. Elaine says, I don't see this in, this is a text message sent to Jerry Judge, says the court. Camille Vasquez says, she goes on, and at the very end of her answer, you see that she testifies she alerted TMZ about the divorce. TMZ was alerted. The very end of her answer. Oh, I forgot about this part. Of course, it's okay. Elaine says, I'm sorry. Where is this? Right here. I'm not finding TMZ. It's at the very end of her answer. I'm sorry. I don't have my copy here. I don't have it with me, Miss Bredehoff, this site. I read the site. Bredehoff, I'm not seeing TMZ. It says right here, some of the indiscernible TMZ, which was alerted. Miss Bredehoff, it doesn't say she alerted them. In fact, she testified that Laura Wasser alerted them. It's subject to redirect. Her theory is that she stated it. Well, I don't think it's impeachment, Your Honor. Yes. It's just going to be the video deposition again. Yes, thank you. So they played the video. Camille Vasquez says, Ms. Heard, did you send a text message to Jerry Judge on May 24th, 2016, telling Jerry Judge, I'm desperately trying to reach Johnny. It's extremely important. Please tell him. Amber replies, I remember sending the text message that's in front of me right now to Jerry. And I remember sending this because I wanted to tell Johnny or have him told by Jerry or someone who knew him or was close to him. Basically, I didn't want him to find out online that I had or was about to file or I had already filed for divorce. I want him to know verbally. So I was trying to reach him through a third party and tell him. When I say reach, I'm specifically saying I would like him to know information coming from me or coming from Jerry, from me, so that he finds out about the divorce filing or my intention to do so from some other source other than TMZ, which was alerted. Ms. Vasquez says, you slipped there, didn't you, Ms. Heard? You let it slip out that TMZ had been alerted to your filing of the DV restraining order, didn't you? I disagree. That's not what I'm talking about. TMZ is the same outlet that released a video of Mr. Depp attacking the kitchen cabinets the same day before this deposition was taken, wasn't it? I didn't do that. I don't know how I could do that. TMZ owns the copyright to that video now, doesn't it? I have no idea what TMZ owns. Were you paid for that? I never got paid for it because I had nothing to do with it. So TMZ was lucky in getting the inside scoop from your divorce to Mr. Depp, huh? I have no idea. That's not my area of expertise. I wouldn't even know how to do that. And also, what does that get me? If I wanted to lay things about Johnny, I could have done that in a much more successful way, in a bigger way for years. She tried to, but she failed. Hi, Jeannie. How are you doing today? How's it going? Hello, hello. Now on the coffin. Camille says, not when you were extorting him for $7 million. I got a fraction of what I was entitled to in the state of California, by the way. What extortion? Camille says, Tasha Van Ray is your ex-wife, right? That's right. She's my ex-partner. She's the one that you told the story that Mr. Depp was jealous of, right? Yeah, and that was a 2013 fight in around March, yes. You testified that he tried to burn one of her paintings, correct? That's correct. You testified that he tried to burn one of your favorite paintings that she did, right? I don't know if it was one of my favorites. You committed domestic violence. Wait, okay. The painting thing, didn't she say that the painting was ruined, but then there was a picture of it in the garage like a year later and the picture was fine. There was like no marks on it or something. I don't think they talked about it in trial, but wasn't that brought up? When was that brought up? Was that brought up in UK or somewhere else? So we all believe that TMZ just got that video out there. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she was like, TMZ hacked me and that's how they got access to it. I didn't send it to them. I don't know, dude. I think she was trying to build a case against Johnny for years and she was trying to record everything just in case, if things go down, she's going to come out looking like the good guy because she probably knows that Johnny Depp was a beloved person and she just wanted to make sure she got all her ducks in a row. And fuck him up. Okay. She said, did you commit DV against Tasha Van Ray? Amber Heard says, no, I did not. You assaulted her at Seattle Airport in 2009, didn't you? No, I did not. And people saw that? That's not true. And it was covered in the press. Isn't that true? It was a plant in the press by Johnny's team 2 days after they got the TRO. Not quite. Can you please pull up exhibit 1279? I mean, obviously, after the TRO thing came up, they probably did some digging on her and shots were fired. So... am I really surprised? No. All right, next sidebar, 19. Ooh, we got a couple more sidebars to go. Your Honor did not permit her to get into that, says Elaine. We did. We said you can go to those articles themselves. Elaine! They literally just talked about the articles a couple sidebars ago. Were you not paying attention? The article I plan to show is this one. It doesn't have the word in here. It doesn't have the word. It's not going to evidence. Not going into evidence. Not going to be shown to the jury. Not going to be shown to the jury. Okay, thank you. Back to open court. If we could, please have the article displayed for the witness. This was an article from 2 years ago. Correct, Ms. Heard? I don't know when this was. May of 2020? That's not when it came out. No, this story started getting planted in after I got the TRO, after I got a restraining order against Johnny. The headlines say Amber Heard allegedly struck Ms. Bredehoff. Objection, Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor. Your Honor ruled she can't say that. You want to approach again. Sidebar. It was just the title. Just the title. The title. Can't have the rest. Right. Doesn't have the word. The court. Okay. Ms. Vasquez. The title reads, Amber Heard allegedly struck her ex-girlfriend at the airport. Doesn't it? Yes, and that's not true. May we approach? Okay. Next sidebar. Your Honor, I think she's opened the door to the arrest. I mean, the fact that she's saying that's not true, she grabbed and assaulted her ex-girlfriend, yet she was arrested for the exact same thing. I think at a minimum, I should be allowed to show her the arrest record. Again, I'm not going to be admitting it to see if that refreshes her recollection that in fact she did assault and grab her girlfriend. She did say no. No, Your Honor, I'm saying, what did Your Honor say? Indiscernible. Right, because she's going to so deny it. That's the whole point. An arrest is not a conviction. I'm not going to allow that. Thank you. You're not going to? No, I'm not. Okay, thanks. I couldn't hear you. Someone get Elaine a stool so she could stand and reach the judge. Yeah, so what's interesting about these sidebars is we're learning why certain things came in, why certain things didn't come in. Because I was wondering too why they didn't bring up Amber Heard's like previous arrest stuff or the Australia incident. But now we're starting to understand why. All right, sidebar number 22. Elaine makes a JD impression. So Camille Vasquez is done with the cross-examination. It's Elaine's turn. She's going to do the redirect. And this is when both sides, Elaine and Amber Heard, sorry, they're on the same side, but they both were bombing. I don't know. Amber Heard was answering with a lot of hearsays and Elaine had a hard time navigating through that, and it was just a lot of objection. Like it was just, yeah, it was the whole thing was just very interrupted. Okay, so this is the part where Elaine makes a JD impression. Oh God, Elaine, 5366. Okay, so the question was, please tell the jury about the next meeting after he said you would not see my eyes again. Amber says, we met in the lawyer's office. They gave us a moment. Johnny kissed me again, held me. I cried. He cried. And then we had a short exchange. He put a note in my pocket that says, I'll love you dead or alive, my Slim, with his new phone number on it. Ms. Bredehoff, I would like to bring up Michelle. If you can't, I'm sorry. Do you recognize this? Objection, Your Honor. May we approach? So Renault redirect, right? This is something that was never produced. And if it was produced as a part of a late production and past discovery cutoff. Ms. Bredehoff. So it was produced by Mr. Depp. It was used in the UK trial. Mr. Depp produced it as a black and white in his case. This came out in color. It's true. Though through Mr. Young's view, but it's not responsive to any document request that they've asked for. I'm going to sustain the objection. Thank you, Your Honor. Next one is beginning with stream of objections from Camille Vasquez. Oh yeah, I think this will be kind of like the long one. We're almost done with today. When do you think we get to Dr. Spiegel? We'll get to Dr. Spiegel probably. When we get to Dr. Spiegel? Dr. Spiegel's on day 21. We're on day 18 right now. But we've got a bunch of like short sidebars for the next couple of days because the Elaine fuckery won't be happening as much. Oh man. Okay. Sidebar number 23. We got the beginning of a string of objections from Camille Vasquez, 5369. Okay. I'm reading the whole thing because it's just kind of nice to have context. It was suggested by Miss Vasquez to wait, okay. What did she say? It has been suggested by Miss Vasquez to you in your question that you didn't tell anyone the abuse until the TRO. Is that true? Objection, Your Honor. Leading. All right. Sustained. All right. Who did you tell about the abuse during the time it was happening? Objection, Your Honor. Leading. Not offered. And hearsay. Sustained. Your Honor, it's prior consistent statements. But it's leading. It's sustained. Next question. Okay. What, if anything, did you tell anyone about the abuse? Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Sustain the objection. Your Honor, may I approach, Your Honor? That's fine. You don't have forever to do that. I mean, there's a timeline you're talking about. Actually, Your Honor, there's two different ways I think it comes on to prior consistent statements, Your Honor. I submit this brief earlier to Your Honor. I've seen it. So there's just two parts to this one. And one part is just the prior consistent statements on specifics. And I will have some on that. But the second is the offer to rebuff allegations of recent fabrication before litigation arose. And that's Virginia Supreme Court Rule 2801 D2B and the Virginia Supreme Court that further define this principle. I'm citing Faison here, where a witness who has been assailed on the grounds that the story is a recent fabrication or that they have some motive for testifying falsely, proof that when they gave a similar account of the transaction when the motive did not exist before, the effect of such account would have been foreseen or motives of interest would have been induced to a different statement is admissible. And that's Faison, and there is also citing Gramsci Duncombe. In this instance, they're clearly suggesting she made up the TRO and that it was never there before. She didn't tell anyone, it didn't exist. I think that brings in, that's not what we're saying. All of the statements, Your Honor. I'll sustain the objection. Your Honor, just so I make a complete record on that, I'm removing the admission of the exhibit that I tried to put in last Wednesday and Thursday that were for hearsay because they're prior consistent statements. I just want to put my record on, Your Honor. Okay, that's fine. But it's not prior consistent statements, so I'll sustain the objection. Thank you, Your Honor. Oh, no. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bredahov. Ms. Hurd, how many people have you shared the fact of the abuse prior to 2015? Objection, Your Honor. Leading calls for hearsay. How many? How many? The court overruled. Amber Heard, roughly about 10. Okay. Okay, can you name them? Yes. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Ms. Bredahov, I think she can. It's not offered. It's just to show that she'd informed people before. There are suggestions. Ms. Vasquez. Objection, Your Honor. Can we approach this again? So we're doing sidebar right now. Your Honor, she's making arguments in front of the jury. I understand. And it's just inappropriate. I mean, you said at the outset of the trial, speaking objections are not to be permitted. Just one-word objections, legal objections. Okay, so Your Honor, I think it's been suggested that she made these up. I think she should at least be right. She said 10 people. So why do we need the names of the people? Okay, I'll sustain the objection. Thank you, Your Honor. Okay. Now, were you asked whether you had consulted a medical doctor about any problems with your nose? Correct? That's correct. And you indicated that you, in fact, had after the divorce. Correct? Objection, leading. Did you or did you not consult an ENT after the divorce? I did. Objection, leading. Did you produce medical records to the defendants relating to this? I did. Objection, leading. I'll sustain the objection as to leading. Next question. Thank you. And Your Honor, if we could, the witness could be instructed not to answer until I've lodged my objection. All right. Wait for the objection, please. Can we bring up the exhibit 1077? Do you recognize this document? My screen is black. Oh, sorry. There you go. Yes, I do. And can you tell us what it is? That's what my ENT, the ears, nose, and throat doctor told me. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. All right. When there's an objection, please stop talking. Sorry. Thank you. All right. Also saying the objection is a hearsay. Ms. Bredahov. Okay. What, if any, you were asked if you had, it was suggested that you had not produced this in discovery. Is that true or false? Objection, Your Honor. Leading. Your Honor, she absolutely did that. It's leading. It's a leading question, though. I'll sustain the objection as to leading. What, if any, did you do to produce medical records to the defendant, to the plaintiffs in this case? I turn over my devices. They had Johnny's team had a third party or someone they selected as a third party go and pull all relevant documents from those devices, which I handed over. Do you know how many were handed over? Hundreds of thousands, I believe, maybe more. Objection, Your Honor, lack of foundation. All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question. And what, if any, did you produce the plaintiff in connection with your consultation with an ENT specialist relating to her nose? Objection, leading, sustained. I asked, what, if any? Foundation, hearsay. What, if any? It's not a cure-all. It's sustained. When did you see an ENT specialist? 2017 or 2016 or 17. As a result of the consultation, what did you learn about your nose? Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. I'm not asking her to tell what they said. I'll sustain the objection. What, if any, production did you make to the plaintiffs of your medical records with the ENT? Objection, Your Honor, lacks foundation. If you want to, lay a foundation. Do you know whether the medical records from your ENT were produced in discovery? Objection, Your Honor, lack of foundation, calls for speculation. I'm just asking. I'll overrule if she knows. Thank you. Yes. And do you recall, I'm trying. What, if any, did the medical records reflect about your nose? Ms. Vasquez. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. I'll sustain the objection. Do you have any injuries to your nose? Yes. Please describe to the jury. I have scar tissue. I'm going to object to the extent it calls for hearsay and lack of foundation. Overruled and improper expert opinion. She can certainly testify to. We'll see where this goes. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead. I have a significant amount of scar tissue in my nose. Objection, Your Honor. I'll sustain the objection. What, if any, difficulty did you have breathing? Objection, leading. What, if anything, and that does cure it, Your Honor. The court. It doesn't, but I'll overrule her objection. I like how Bretterhoff is trying to give Judge Penny direction, okay? Judge Penny has been schooling you this entire time, and you're still going to think that you're going to be able to school Judge Penny. I don't think so, Ms. Bretterhoff. Hi, Sandra. How are you doing today? How's it going? She seems a little bit slow. Oh, yo. Do you remember the question? I have a significant amount of trouble breathing at night, and I've been putting it off having surgery for it. Okay, so now you're asked about December 15, 2015, and Ms. Vasquez suggests that you did not report abuse or the injuries to Aunt Filati. Do you recall that? Objection, Your Honor. Leading. Your Honor, I'm entitled to go into what Ms. Vasquez says. Objection is leading. I'll sustain the objection. Okay. Did you report, what, if any, did you report to Aunt Filati about the abuse you sustained on 12/15/2015? Objection, leading and hearsay. Approach. All right, next sidebar. You can't just put what, if any, and I can't hear you. You can't just put what, if any, in front of the whole statement and say you're directing her directly to that. There are ways to ask the question. You just can't ask it in those ways. So if I'm going to, Your Honor, I would like to do a preview. Sure. There's notes from Aaron Filati's records that were excluded from 12/16. Okay. Ms. Vasquez read from 12/17. Okay. I'm going to now bring in 12/16 prior consistent statement because she was impeached with 12/17 from the hotel about the injuries to Aaron Filati. I don't know. Also, Bretterhoff has a hard time, working well under pressure. And she needs to be crafty. When she's not getting her questions through, you got to be fucking crafty and ask the question a different way. You know, she just keeps throwing the what, if anything. And Judge Penny's just like, dude, what the fuck? Okay. In fact, Aaron Filati documented the day before that, in quotation mark, client states JD was inebriated. Client states disagreement escalated and states husband, discernible, abuse, indiscernible, to head. Client denies loss of consciousness, indiscernible, headache, and closed eye. I would encourage client to notify Dr. Kipper and then go to the emergency room. Client declines, states friend Rocky was here, and that husband will not be able to enter home. This is a direct response to the prior consistent statement, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez asked her about 12/17, which is in evidence. Again, this is Aaron Filati's notes, but at this point, this is just her recording what AH told her. And this is also the time where AH said that she had a black eye and, she had a busted head, but she went on a TV appeal. I don't know why she kept doing this. Maybe she was just too fucking greedy and couldn't say no to these appearances, red carpet appearances, TV appearances, these events. Just fucking say no. And then, later on when you accuse Johnny Depp of abuse, then maybe people will be like, oh shit, you know what? AH didn't appear on this red carpet with Johnny Depp. She skipped this, she skipped that. At that point, and people will be like, oh, okay, there must be a reason why she didn't show up or something like that. I don't know. Your 27-year-old daughter passed away unexpectedly less than 2 weeks ago. She left behind 2 children, ages 2 and 6 years old. We still have no reason. Wait, what? You're still getting an autopsy report unexpectedly? Was it at the hospital? Was it at her house? Dude, I'm so sorry about that. That's so sad. Oh, and she's got kids too. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about that, Sandra. You're so broken and being out of the blue and having no answers, the worst. We just barely were able to get her remains into the service last Wednesday. Everything is such a mess. Dude, that sounds horrible. It was at her home. Oh my goodness. People were very sympathetic towards Elaine, but we watch her pull shady and competent crap every day and lost patience for that woman. I feel sympathetic towards her because she's just old, I guess. And I don't know. I do feel bad for her, but she just seems incompetent and just a hot mess. Oh, yeah. I don't get I don't really get I don't know. She was AH's attorney though, but AH is malicious. Malicious is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, age is like malicious. You know, when someone is like pure evil, malicious, that's when I'm just like, nah, I don't really feel bad for you. You're just fucking pure evil. Elaine's just, I don't know. She does a hot mess, man. Okay, so we're talking about the notes from Aaron Filati. This is when Amber Heard makes the TV appearance on like the James Corden show. Okay. The court, Ms. Bredehoff, and suggests that she didn't tell her about it. And then she went on and got that Dr. Kipper wrote and suggested that she didn't tell him about the incident. So she's suggesting she falsified the incident. This is a prior consistent statement to Nurse Filati. So I'm going to, Your Honor, it's hearsay. It's hearsay. Well, she's saying she's not using it for, she says exception to hearsay is a prior consistent statement. Correct. But it's still double hearsay, Your Honor, because it's not Ms. Heard's statement. It's Ms. Heard's statement allegedly to a nurse, and it's recorded in the document. That's double hearsay. That's still double hearsay. The nurse isn't testifying to that. That's the whole point of having an exception to hearsay. No, you still can't get over. I understand. I see what you're saying. In which you need an exception, and there's medical records exception. No, there isn't. Who is CT? Client. Okay. By the way, my question wasn't, what injuries did you tell Aaron Filati about, which would have elicited that testimony? Perhaps you still have to get over the 2 levels of hearsay, but she doesn't have an exception for the 2 levels of hearsay. I don't agree. A prior inconsistent statement is an exception to the hearsay rule, so it is medical record. Judge Penny says, but medical record, you still have to get over the hearsay in the medical records. You have to get over the hearsay. It's not hearsay. Anyways, where we're at, correct. She's trying to offer it. It's specifically intended not to impeach her. It's specifically intended to impeach her and suggest that she did not tell Aaron Filati about the injury and that she brought up 1217 note, which is in evidence. I did not. All right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to allow this into evidence because it is double hearsay. But if you want it because it's a prior consistent statement, you want to ask her. And this is when Judge Penny, there are times where she just like straight up just helps Elaine because Elaine just struggles so much. She's like, okay, ask the question this way then. But she also helped, I think she helped Dennison once too when he was doing his cross-examination. But anyways, so Judge Penny was like, you want to ask her, in quotation marks, did you tell on 1216? Did you tell the nurse about your injuries? I'm going to allow that because that's a prior consistent statement, but I'm not going to allow the notes in. Okay, does that make sense? I know the jury doesn't get to see that. And they see the 1217 and they're misled. But you have a hearsay issue inside of that. I'm allowing you to ask the question for prior inconsistent statement because I think that's appropriate, okay? Just what? And not reading in the note, just an open-ended question. What did you ask her? And then I also have a text exchange between Aaron Filati and Amber Heard on 1216 about this. This is Defense Exhibit 535, Your Honor. And for the record, what I want to move in is Plaintiff's 46A to add in 1216-15. What part are you saying is a prior consistent statement here? She's telling her about the headache and it goes through. And then she finds, I think the 3rd page, Your Honor, is an exception. Show me the prior consistent statement. Your Honor, I'm going to just object that none of this should be admitted. Well, the prior consistent statement, go ahead. Prior consistent statement cannot be admitted into evidence because they're not used to rehabilitate the witness. Right. And it cannot be admitted into evidence. Right. So you just ask her the question. I'm not going to allow the documents. They have to be open-ended. They can't be quoting. It's hearsay. You can't quote the text. You can't read the notes. You can't quote the notes. Just say, on 1216, do you report to the nurse any injuries? Does that sound okay? That's fine, Your Honor. And just for the record, Your Honor, and did you text with the nurse? And did you text to her about the injuries? But that's it, okay? All right. And just for the record, Your Honor, okay, I didn't impeach her on this injury. I asked if she had any injuries. We're not going to impeachment, just prior to this statement. That's fine. Okay, thank you. Continue reading on. We're going to read on to another long sidebar. Okay, so Bredehoff says, did you tell Nurse Filati on 1216 about your injuries you sustained from 1215 attack? I did. I believe I sent her pictures too. Okay. And did you text with the Nurse Filati on 1216 about the injuries that you had suffered as a result of Mr. Depp attack on you on 1215? Yes, she guided me through a concussion check. And did you tell Connell Cowan about the injuries sustained? Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. It's prior consistent statement, Your Honor. All right, I'm going to sustain to the objection at this point. Next question. Do you recall Dr. Laurel Anderson testifying that she saw 2 black eyes on 1217? Objection, Your Honor. Leading. Sustain is to leading. Okay. What, if anything, do you recall from Laurel Anderson's testimony on this case about what she observed on 12/17. Objection, Your Honor. This is outside the scope of cross-examination. It's prior consistent statement. I'm going to sustain the objection. The observation from 12/17. Sustain the objection. Next question. May I approach? Okay. Camille Vasquez says, they've been the court. Prior consistent statements can't be testimony that's in evidence. That's not how it works. Elaine says, they brought in Dr. Kipper notes from 12/17, alleging that she didn't say anything about it. And 12/17, she's appearing in front of Laura Anderson. Again, prior consistent statements cannot be permitted. You're asking about the testimony that's not her consistent statement. Ms. Vasquez got to talk about it. That's not prior consistent statements, though. I'm gonna sustain the objection. You can move on. Oh yeah. Marianne. I'll sustain the objection. Oh man. I think we're almost there. Oh shit, I'm going backwards. Whoops. The what if any. Do you want to approach? Audio clips. Oh, I read this one. Okay, 26, and then read until 27. Elaine complains by saying it's not fair. Okay, I don't remember what Elaine complains about. Let's see. It's not fair. Okay, so question is, when in December did you see Dr. Laura Anderson? Objection, lack of foundation, overruled. I saw her 2 days after the attack. So on what days did you see her then? That will be on the 17th of December of 2016 when I told her what happened. Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. I'll sustain the objection. And when did you see Dr. Connell Cowan? I saw him the next day, December 16th is my best recollection. Let's jump to East Asia for a moment. We saw pictures from the backless dress. What, if any, motivation would you have to claim that Mr. Depp was kneeling on your back knowing that you had a backless dress? Oh no, don't bring up the backless dress. You're just going to remind the jury again. Hi, Paul. How are you doing today? Ay. Objection, Your Honor. Leading calls for speculation. As to leading, I'll sustain the objection. Okay. Why did you say that Mr. Depp was kneeling on your back in East Asia? It was in the closet of a hotel room in Tokyo. I said that because it happened to me. It would have been much more convenient if I was making it up to not include that detail, knowing I had a backless dress. I walked the press line and got photographed. Honestly, though, I think she just forgot. I think when she... I don't know. I think when these fights happen, I think she exaggerated what happened, and then she forgot that, like, oh, whoops, I probably wore a backless dress that day. Oh no, I think she just fucked up her timelines and stuff, and ended up biting her in the butt. Or she's just one of the most dumbest liars ever. Because a lot of the lies that she alleged against Johnny Depp were like, a lot of things that she alleged against Johnny Depp were things that you would see her later on making a public appearance. And yeah, there's makeup and stuff like that, but she alleged that she got beat up by a man that wore rings on like all his fingers, and you wouldn't really be parading around, even though makeup would help, and I'm sure icing would help too, but nah, man, you'd be fucking swollen up, you'd be like brown and blue, and like it would have been all like, it would have been bad. And just remember, these pictures aren't like shitty like Nokia photos, okay? These are like high quality photos, red carpet photos. I don't know. Very nicely lit areas. Oh man. Okay. Question. Now, we've heard testimony about Mr. Depp making a total of $65 million in 2015 and 2016 from his experts. Objection, Your Honor. Why would leading? I haven't asked a question, Your Honor. Hearsay. Why did you not ask for $32 million from Mr. Depp? Your Honor, leading. I said, why did you not ask? Relevance. The court sustained the objection to leading. Next question. Can I just ask why you do not ask for $32.5 million for Mr. Depp? Ask and answered. Relevance. Overruled. Go ahead. Because I didn't want it. I realized that that's what I'm entitled to, but I didn't want it. That's simple. The tape recording that was played has you laughing quite a bit. Can you tell the jury what was the context of the particular tape recording was? I don't really recall a whole lot about what's going on. I know we had a fighting kind of ad nauseum, but some sort of a loop, if you will. I was doing my best to try not to show any pain. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to be tough and not show what kind of pain I was in. Oh, I think that was when she was like laughing and cackling like a fucking crazy person. I don't know, man. That was like, it gave a lot of people goosebumps. It was pretty unhinged. Now, Ms. Vasquez asks about how you got into your role to Aquaman. Could you please describe to the jury how you got your role to Aquaman? Yes, I auditioned, not Johnny. I auditioned. I worked really hard. I went to where we were filming the first movie, Justice League, I think. I went, 5.5 months early before filming commenced. When I heard they wanted to fire me, so I put myself on the job. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Sustained. I worked really hard. I worked really hard on that, and I had to prove myself. And I did that even though I was only filming for 6 days. I was there for 6 months, just worked my butt off. That's why. Wait, why was she there for 6 months? Jesus. What if Eddie wrote the Mr. Depp plan you're getting Aquaman? He tried to have me fired from it. Objection, Your Honor. Speculation. All right, I'll sustain to speculation. How do you know that he tried to have you fired? Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation and hearsay and lack of foundation. I'm trying to lay a foundation. All right, lay a foundation. I saw it. I saw the emails. I saw the text. I'll sustain the objection as to hearsay to the court. Next question. You were asked about Iris Baruch and that he saw no marks. What is your recollection of the interaction with Isaac Baruch during the week of May 22nd? I saw Isaac when I was coming or going, meaning I was leaving or arriving to the building. I saw him at a distance. We did not have an in-depth conversation, nor would we. And I told him actually right after it happened what his friend had done. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. I don't think it's offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. I'll sustain the objection. Next question. Okay. Stay away from what was said. Can you tell us what interaction you had with him and his opportunity to observe you with absolutely no makeup? Objection, Your Honor. Leading. Sustain the objection. It's leading. Please describe for the jury your interaction with Isaac Baruch during the week of 22nd. Well, not only did I have makeup on, but I did attempt to kind of let him know what happened. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. I'll sustain the objection. Next question. You were asked some of the questions about Officer Melissa Sines' testimony. What, if anything, do you recall relating to Officer Melissa Sines' testimony regarding your injuries? Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Your Honor said I could redirect after cross-examination when she... Do you want to approach? In the sidebar. The judge, when he says, you can redirect, but not hearsay. I mean, hearsay and leading. Your Honor, it's patently not fair for them to cross-examine. And then Your Honor say, that's for redirect. And then I say, she's answering these questions. She's answering what Melissa Sines, she's testifying to what this is Miss Vasquez testifying to what these people testifying to and asking them a question. I object to that because I think that's not a proper way to do it. Your Honor says that's for redirect. Now I'm trying to redirect. You still can't redirect with hearsay or leading. I'm not sure from that question exactly. I mean, are you trying to get to what her testimony was when she was testified? Because that's what she was talking about with the testimony. The in-court statement was that she made for the deposition that was played as to a witness. Is that what you're trying to get into? Yes. That's not what you asked. All right. Okay, all right. But it's not hearsay if it's an in-court statement, so I can ask that because you're talking about her testimony. If she knows what her testimony was. But you still can't lead the witness. Okay, thank you. Ms. Bredehoff, what, if any, do you recall of Officer Sines' testimony, in this case relating to your injuries and the property destruction? I recall her saying that she didn't feel that the state that I was in was enough of an injury to her. It was an injury seeming to her. Okay, what about the property damage? She claims she did not see any property damage, and I walked with her over the broken glass, so I don't know why she's saying that. Okay, what if any? Now we're going to start doing what if any interaction did you have with Alejandro Romero during the week of May 22nd? I spoke with him briefly. Objection, Your Honor. That extent is calls for hearsay. Overruled at this point. You spoke to him. I spoke to him briefly in passing as I was entering. Maybe I was exiting the building, but always when I was on my way out from in or being outside, meaning makeup, I had makeup on always as I do. Why did James Franco visit you on 5/22? Objection calls for speculation. Do you know? Yes. Please tell. Because he was my friend. He lived next door, quite literally lived next door. And I had frankly exhausted my support network with my usual friends and was happy to welcome as much friendship at the time as I could possibly get. Now, the video showed him laying his head on your shoulder. Can you describe for the jury what the interaction was without saying what was said and the interaction that was led to that? He, after seeing my face, he put his head on my shoulder. Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation. That doesn't call for speculation. If she sees that he sees her, he touched the side of my face too. I'm going to sustain the objection. Again, Your Honor, if you could instruct the witness, if you could wait for the objection, please. All right, next question. What did Mr. Franco do on the elevator before laying his head on your shoulder? He touched the side of my face and responded to what we saw. He talked about you were shown a bunch of newspaper headlines. There was one particular referring to sexual violence. What, if anything, did Mr. Waldman do to you relating to that article? Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation calls for speculation. What did he do to her? Unintelligible. I don't understand the question. Court overruled. We'll see where it goes. He was carrying the paper that had the headline on it that he leaked and threw it at me at the UK trial. We were unfortunately sat actually literally right next to each other. Was this through your show? Oh, Mr. Waldman. Okay, this is Mr. Waldman. We were unfortunately sat actually literally next to one another with a COVID spacing between us, and he threw the paper down as he sat down with that cover. And where was that? In the UK trial, at the UK trial. Objection, Your Honor. That is beyond scope. That's not beyond the scope. Overruled. Thank you. Why did you tweet about the makeup and Mr. Waldman? Because he was calling me a liar and a hoaxer, and this is an elaborate hoax just to get Johnny. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. I'll sustain the objection. Next question. Okay. I don't have any more questions, Your Honor. I think we're done. That is the end of the Elaine stuff. Hello, Vax. How are you doing today? We're done with day 18, but we got 3 more days to go. But they're going to be short days, thank goodness. Yeah, I know. The unintelligible one was when Camille was like, what the fuck is she saying? I don't even know what to do at this point. Yeah, Camille had a boatload of work to do, man. Oh, my goodness. Let's see, 26. All right, guys, let's get up and stretch. Let's use the bathroom really quick. We're on day 19 now. Fresh new day. All right, y'all. Whew. That was, I don't know. That was like a string of days where it was just really rough for poor Elaine. All right, day 20, May 19th. We got sidebar number 1. We got the beginning of trial. Ben Chew gets in trouble. Oh, I think about the alpacas. Yeah, Ben Chew and Depp lawyers get in trouble for taking pictures. Lawyers were getting death threats on both sides. And then Judge Penny talks about TikTok. Why is Judge Penny talking about TikTok? Let's see what's going on here. So we already got some drama brewing at the beginning of the day. All right, y'all. What do we got the sidebar about? Mr. Roddenborn says, first one is, Your Honor requested a set of orders with the juror. Everyone signed this. Everyone's okay. Deposition, designations, photos to be shown. I don't think we need this entire thing. Pictures, metadata. Bruce. Oh man, this is pretty long actually. Should I read the metadata stuff? Okay, I can read. I'll just read it, I guess. All right, Roddenborn. The first one is, Your Honor requested a set of orders for the jurors. Judge Penny says, everyone sign on this. Mr. Chew, yes. Mr. Roddenborn says, yes, Your Honor. The court says, so sign. Mr. Chew says he read it carefully. The court says, I'm sure. I'm glad you took your time. Mr. Roddenborn says, we just added the one paragraph at the end. The court says, okay, get that order out. Everyone says, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. Roddenborn. And then we just wanted for Rocky Pennington's deposition, there's going to be a number of photos shown, and we just want to address any issues before. The court says, all right. Mr. Roddenborn, I think Ms. Myers and I had agreed on that we did bring the deposition designation, and we didn't bring the photos in front of Your Honor. We just said any testimony that Your Honor allows is in the reference in a certain, allows in that reference a certain photo, and that the photo comes in. The court says the photo will be shown. Mr. Roddenborn continues, I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. Some that have been plainly admitted into evidence as they're going to be shown. Let me highlight this. Court says, alrighty, Mr. Roddenborn. And then there's a group that was shown to Ms. Pennington, Ms. Myers, and I agreed that would come in. And if Your Honor will let the testimony in, court says, sure, that has a stamp on them. Jessica Meyer says, so I think we're going to take the same position yesterday, but there's a lack of foundation for including the metadata. The court says, okay. Roddenborn says, and we would argue two things. Number one, that wasn't what we agreed on when they came in. This is a different witness. We agreed that the pictures would come in. We never discussed, Ms. Myers never objected to the metadata coming in when we made an agreement several weeks ago. So that's the first argument. Court says, okay. The second argument, Your Honor, is that I know we hand up some case law, but I know. But these are clearly not hearsay under Cadam v. Commonwealth. I understand the hearsay, but the problem is the foundation part. Actually, you keep saying metadata. This actually isn't metadata. This is just from an iPhone, which I can go in, I can change my listings for any on my iPhone, and it will show up as a different date or different location. Metadata is something that is extracted from the phone and is with the file, and it would show that I changed the location. That's metadata. That's metadata. So, Roddenborn, okay. The court, I understand you keep calling it metadata, but your position is it's metadata. My position is it's something that can be changed. Sorry, when they send judges from computer forensic school down in Alabama, these things happen. I don't envy you having to go that far. It's the industry. Mr. Berderhoff, but Ms. Hurd did testify that she did put those on there. She gave the foundation testimony. The court, well, I understand that. But then again, anyway, that's my ruling. Mr. Roddenborn says, okay. Mr. Roddenborn says, Your Honor, I just wanted to make a record on that. Court says, I appreciate it. Mr. Roddenborn, can I take one more shot at this? Okay. Mr. Roddenborn says, Mr. Depp, you'll remember, he introduced two pictures of him with the alleged bruises in his face that were very clearly had this on them. He testified that one was taken by Sean Bett. And that's so a different nature than this, I believe. So we believe at a minimum, if the jury, number one, if we believe that they've waived this by agreeing to this coming in, but, well, this is the problem with my deposition. The same thing that you wanting to de-designate things. I understand. The trial is fluid. I totally respect Your Honor's decision, but we would ask that this be published. This is a different nature than that. Okay. All it shows is the time. All right. Any objection to those? Ms. Meyer says, I think we move our objection of having them come in, same with the ones the other day. The ones that they're referring to they didn't object to the timestamp at the top. Well, I understand, but what would be the objection of the timestamp? That's plainly metadata. Mr. Moniz, yeah, but they can't be changing the same way. The court says, that I don't know. Didn't cover that in my class. Mr. Roddenborn, the case law says that in order to get rid of metadata, they have to do more than assert that it could be changed. They have to. I understand. Well, I still don't think it's metadata. I'll allow it this time, but we can get rid of it, okay? Everyone says, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Very comfortable. Yes. Mr. Roddenborn says, if you notice anything at all comes up with exhibits with Ms. Pennington's or photographs, there's several ways that have already been admitted without metadata. And the ones that have to show them admitted, the court says, are you going to show them this during deposition? Judy's going to get mad at you. Mr. Roddenborn, that's the first time I've done that. Well, we'll show them. We'll have this redacted. Did I label this wrong? Am I on the wrong day? 19. Oh, fuck me. Sorry. I think we're on the wrong day. 19. Sorry. Day 19 is start of the trial, discussing matters. Sorry, I skipped the wrong day. Okay, so we're back to having little sidebars. We did sidebar number 1. The alpaca thing happens the next day. My bad, y'all. I fudged that up. Sidebar number 5, AH's sister testifies. We are in cross-examination. So this is Amber Heard's only live witness from her friends and family camp. Right? Yeah, I think so. All right, y'all. Sister testifies. Ms. Bredehoff, first of all, this has never been produced to us. Depp's lawyer, this is from the defendant's records. Okay, so what are we looking at? Who is this between? Depp's lawyer. This is between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, the court. So Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, these are her statements, and then he states Depp's lawyer. So go to third page. Ms. Heard says, I love you both. I love you both so much. I would fucking stay out of it if I thought this shit would be passive, no point of return. But that's not where you guys are at right now. Sorry, these two blue ones right above the green. Ms. Bredehoff. So first of all, it doesn't impeach because she said she doesn't know what it means. The court, she said she was helping them. So what are you offering it for? Depp's lawyer. So she said that she didn't say that they weren't past the point of return. Ms. Bredehoff. She didn't testify to that. She testified that she wasn't sure what you were getting at there. The court. She testified that it wasn't her place to say. She was just being supportive. So this is something different. Ms. Bredehoff. First of all, you can't introduce documents for impeachment of a third-party witness, so it's not admissible. At best, she can put it in front of her, and she can read it to her. But she can't put it into evidence. Ms. Depp's lawyer. That's what I said. The court. Are those the only ones you're looking at? Depp's lawyer. I just realized I have a redacted copy. I didn't redact other messages. We can take care of that. The court, if you're not going to produce into evidence, that's fine. She's just going to read it. Depp's lawyer, I'm just going to read it to her. Ms. Bredehoff, just those two? She says yes. Yes. Okay. Now we have, I think after we have Whitney's testimony, we get a lot of video depositions, I think. Who are the video depositions from? I think from like the friends, maybe. But at this point, I guess people are starting to fall asleep and it's not good. You know, when your side is, I think right now, the makeup artist is testifying on video. Is that what it was? Makeup artist is testifying on video, and I guess people are just falling asleep. It must have been after like lunchtime or something. And people are just like, oh my God, these videos are just so. Aw, thank you, Sandra. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad that he didn't throw his employees under the bus. They walked out. Their car wasn't there. They took pictures of alpacas because the crowd was asking questions. Camille was exhausted. Yeah, I bet she was. Hello. Hi, Corgi. What's up? How are you doing today? All right, so Judge Penny needs to start waking up some of the jurors because they are falling asleep a little bit. Judge Penny says, all right, how much time? I'm sorry, I have jurors falling asleep, so I had to get Julissa over there and nudge him. I just want to make sure. The next one is 40 minutes, sorry. I'm going to give them time to stretch too, so we can sit up here and talk. That's what we're going to do right now, so we'll just stay here for a few minutes to chat. So the next one, 40 minutes and 14 seconds. Perfect. We can get them done today. Perfect. Depositions. I haven't gotten time for some depositions from you. I talked to Sammy because Planet Depots did all of them. Right. And I told him I would check with them. Well, I still don't have some from a couple weeks ago. I thought we got those to Sammy. I thought so too. We'll double check. Oh, Mr. Chew says, I thought so too. Double check. The court. Make sure. I'm going to go back and look at the times. I'm missing all the officers, one from that day. They're short ones, but I still think I'm missing it. So if I can get them tonight, because I want to give you an accurate time for tomorrow, but I can add those into the times, okay? Okay, but we're a little ahead of the schedule, so I might be able to give you a couple of extra hours. But if I know tonight what they are, I can tell you tomorrow what you have left. At the end of the day tomorrow, I can tell you what you have left. Ms. Bredehoff, I'm pretty sure we have them, so we'll figure it out. Sammy just doesn't have it. Okay, we'll go back. We went back, checked through his emails and everything, so we'll get that. And you're going to give me jury agreements in for tomorrow, the jury instructions, the agreements, objections tomorrow's morning. Yes. Do you think that's enough time for them? Do you have anything else going on? How's everyone doing? Do you think they got enough time to stretch? That's good. Oh, Judge Petty's so sweet. Everyone says, yeah, thank you. We're back in open court. We have more video interviews from Amber Heard's witness. So not much going on day 19. Now, this is day 20 where the alpaca stuff happens. Okay. Sorry. So now this is day 19, sidebar number 1. Beginning of the day, Ben Chew gets in trouble, other lawyers getting death threats, and then Judge Penny talks about the TikTok. Sorry, I had my days mixed up. So Mr. Nadehoff says, Your Honor, I'm not sure if you saw my email. The court, I did, and Sammy emailed to me. Mr. Roddenboy, it's deeply troubling. It appears to be, I know it's up to you, a blatant violation of the court's order. The jury, I don't know where they park. I assume they park in the public garage. They walk past that and just have deep concerns about the integrity of this process when things like that are happening. The court says, all right. Mr. Chew, Your Honor, if I may be heard, I can give a little context and I will apologize. But if I can just put into context, sure. Mr. Chew, the night before last, Ms. Vasquez got a very serious death threat. I know there's other threats going back and forth, but it was very serious. It was after her cross-examination of Ms. Heard, our email, our computer systems were compromised and hacked. Some of Mr. Depp's data was stolen. The firm made us surrender our phones. So yesterday, I surrendered my phone, gave it to my assistant. What happened was I went down a little earlier when we were done cleaning out the break room. I went down alone. I didn't have my phone. I was waiting for my assistant to come and bring me the phone. We couldn't contact the gentleman who was driving us to and from. I was surrounded by 100 people and it got a little, not scary, but it was a little overwhelming. So finally the driver came and Camille and the rest of the team came out. We asked our technician to take a private picture of us with the alpaca, which is still against my order. I apologize. I do apologize, but it's completely my fault. I was taking a picture for my boys who I haven't seen in 5 weeks. I apologize. No excuse. It's not prejudice. There's no disrespect. In fact, I don't see how it's prejudicial. The court, You can see if the jurors are coming out of there and you're doing pictures with alpacas. You can understand that? Mr. Chew, I do understand that, Your Honor. I do apologize, but I don't think that happened. We were surrounded. We contacted some people to escort us from now on. The court, yeah, you probably shouldn't go out there unless your car is ready. Mr. Chew, we won't. And that's why I mentioned the phone, because I literally did not have my phone because it was being fixed. It still hasn't been fixed. Our assistant has to come back again today at lunchtime and get it fixed. The court, okay, you're getting it escorted too, right? Are they escorted? Mr. Rondenborn, we have had some days, a little less, a fewer people, but some days we have. Okay. But obviously there's no excuse for it's horrible that Ms. Vasquez received a death threat. We received them too. I know you've had. Mr. Chew, we get called. Mr. Rondenborn, that doesn't address the court. I understand. Mr. Rondenborn, it wasn't just Mr. Chew was posing for pictures. He was also taking a picture of Ms. Vasquez. And I get that it's tough, but we just have, and I'm not going to impute that notice to Mr. Chew and Ms. Vasquez, but Mr. Depp's online army of support is zealous. To say the least, when things like this go viral, it only makes it harder for the jury to avoid. I understand. It's just blatant, black and white violation of the court's order. Okay, so you're obviously on notice from now on. Mr. Chew says, yes, Your Honor. The court says there'll be sanctions. This happens again. Mr. Chew says, yes, Your Honor. The court, you need to figure it out. I don't want you. If people are videotaping, you can't be standing there when people are videotaping. Mr. Chew, we won't. The court, you can't be engaging with them. It's going to be silenced the entire way. Mr. Chew, understood. The court, in cars, gone. I don't want to see any grandstanding whatsoever. Mr. Chew, we're not leaving without having our drivers there. The court, it just can't happen again. Mr. Chew, I understand. The court, additionally, it was brought to my attention this morning, so I just want to get this on record too. There was an employee's kids out on the balcony in the back chambers area. And that's when you're at the judge's lot. You can see the balcony on the 5th floor. There were kids out there yesterday when people were coming in. They were videotaping the arrivals of your clients. One of the kids posted on TikTok. I found it this morning. It has been removed from TikTok and nobody can go on that balcony again for the duration of the trial. But since it happened, I wanted to let you all be aware of it and I have dealt with it. Mr. Chew, thank you, Your Honor. The court, very sternly, I want to make you all aware of that. Everyone says, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. Jennison comes in. Did you see the TikTok balcony? What's a TikTok balcony? I didn't see the TikTok balcony. Mr. Dennison. I don't think there's too much going on with Mr. Dennison. Yeah, not much with Mr. Dennison. Okay. Sidebar number 2, we just have Samuel Moniz injuring his finger. The court says, all right, yes, Mr. Moniz. Your Honor, this relates to the exhibits for Mr. Waldman. Okay, what did you do to your finger? Maybe I don't want to know. Like a complete idiot, I bumped into the wall, says Samuel Moniz. Ms. Bredehoff, he ran into Mr. Depp. I wonder if this is Elaine trying to be funny, or is she calling Johnny Depp a wall? Or I don't know. I wish I could see her like body language. Was she smiling? Was she trying to make a joke? Or was she just, did she actually think that he ran into Johnny Depp and like fucked up his finger or something? The court, you're trying to show something here. I don't think that's Mr. Chew. It's the same finger too. The court, I noticed that. Mr. Moniz, ironic. The court, yes, ironic. Yes, sir. Mr. Moniz, this relates to the counterclaim statement that are already coming through, Mr. Waldman. Your Honor's already ruled on this to some extent. With Ms. Heard, I understand we don't go back. The court, don't go backwards, but if you can preserve the record. Mr. Moniz, so we want to move into the evidence, move for the admission of 881A, B, C, and those are the articles that contain the counterclaim statements. The court says, right. Mr. Moniz, I appreciate Your Honor has already ruled this on hearsay, that this is hearsay. Just want to touch very briefly on a couple of the court cuts him off. You can, just for the record, because obviously, I mean, Mr. Moniz, I understand we don't go back. The court, but defamatory statements can be in context, your own statements, but he didn't know what the articles were going to say or know how they were going to print the article. Mr. Moniz, right. It is relevant to a couple of points. First of all, it is relevant to show that he was speaking to reporters. That's who the statements were made to. The reporter then went on the right articles that presented both sides of the story, presented his statements as a statement as one-sided of a two-sided story, so that we believe is evidence the reporters were knowledgeable of the circumstance and did not accept things at face value. The other point I'd like to try to make, Your Honor, is that it is relevant to the damages that the two statements are buried at the bottom of the lengthy article. The articles have all sort of bad things about both parties. I believe it goes to plausibility that Ms. Heard claims she suffered $100 million in damages from these specific statements. How did she get the 100 million statement? 100 million calculation again? Or is it she just want to do a power move and just double Johnny Depp's amount? These are statements that appear in the context of the articles that lay out the source of other things about the parties. We believe it's relevant to the damages issue. The jury ought to be able to consider the way these statements actually appear in the context, addressing her claim that she suffered $100 million damages from these statements from Mr. Waldman. The court, you're saying these are other bad statements in there for damages purposes of hers, for her. Mr. Moniz, you have Ms. Hurt's lawyers for her. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they talk about it. I mean, I have copies of the articles here if Your Honor wants to look at them or not. They lay out, they are the transcripts specific, for example, recordings, recordings. The articles talk about she admitted to punching and so on. The court, okay. Ms. Bredehoff, same argument as before. He had no idea what was going to be placed in there at the time. So it's not pertinent to it. And the second thing Your Honor has consistently ruled also against us, we can't put in other articles that are negative or other statements that are negative about Amber Heard. We can bring them up and put titles in front of them, but, which was done in cross-examination, I'll sustain the objection, but you have your record. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. Yes, double JD. Elaine said in closing, so we wrote back and doubled. We wrote back and doubled or something. I don't remember hearing that, Danielle. My career would have been worth $100 million. All right. Last day for today. Day 21. We have some testimonies from... actually, a lot of testimonies today. A lot of video ones. Bruce Whitkin was Johnny Depp's previous band member and friend. Tracy Jacobs was Johnny Depp's former agent, I think. Joel Mandel was it Johnny Depp's previous business manager, the one that apparently stole money from him and was replaced by Ed White, I think. Adam Waldman, lawyer. Marie Sandanaga might have been the police officer who just came up and just talked about police standards, I think. Ron Schnell, I think, was the one that talked about, was it the Q score stuff? Michelle Maroney, don't remember that. Tina Newman, don't remember that. Maybe some of them were like the one. I think one of them was like the Disney worker, right? Who didn't really know much. Ellen Barkin, Depp's former girlfriend from 20, 30 years ago. Alan Blaustein was one of the psychiatrists or something, or therapists, psychologists that Johnny Depp was seeing, I think. Eric George. Eric George was... I think Eric George was the lawyer that probably fucked this all up. I think he was a lawyer that represented Amber Heard back in the day where the whole op-ed thing was happening, I think. Jessica Kovacevic. I don't remember who that was. That was day 20. Sorry, we're in day 21. Day 21 was Richard Moore. I think Richard Moore is the doctor was a doctor that was supposed to talk about Johnny Depp's finger. We have David Spiegel, who was supposed to talk about Johnny Depp, I guess. And then Catherine Arnold was talking about how Amber Heard was a rising star at that point. She had her, what was the phrase again? It was like her rising moment or something. I don't know. She really thought that Amber Heard was going to be catapulted into greatness along with Gal Gadot and Anna de Armas or something like that. I don't know. She made some very interesting and even with Jason Momoa too or something. I don't know. She made comparisons to Amber Heard with other big actors and actresses, and we kind of thought it was a little ridiculous. All right, y'all. Sidebar 1. Dr. Moore was crossed by Camille. Mr. Roddenborn has an objection. Mr. Roddenborn, Your Honor, this is already excluded the testimony's hearsay. We're in deposition designation when Dr. Kipper claimed that Mr. Depp told him it happened with the vodka bottle as he was picking him up in Australia. Your Honor concluded that the testimony from Dr. Kipper's deposition as hearsay. The court, well, when Dr. Kipper was testifying, Camille, correct. Mr. Roddenborn, yes, I understand. Camille Vasquez, he can testify as to the court because he was reviewed. Ms. Vasquez, he reviewed the deposition. Mr. Roddenborn, he can testify as to what he reviewed, but it's not offered by us, by Ms. Vasquez. It is not offered by us. The court says overruled. Roddenborn says okay. Thank you. And then we got enter Dr. Spiegel being cross-examined. Direct examined by Elaine. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when the trial was happening, it just felt like, is this real shit, man? I can't believe this is is this a real trial that's going on right now? I don't know. There's so many batshit crazy things that's happened. Oh yeah, a Star is Born moment. Yeah. Yes. Was he the one that kept saying Amber Turd, or was that Dennison? That might have been Dennison. There was someone that kept saying Amber Turd, and it's like, dude, I bet you she gets triggered when she hears that. All right, so Elaine says, what, if any, have you seen in the terms of emails, audios, videos? Dr. Spiegel, yes, I've seen videos of Mr. Depp. I think a video was shown, right, of Mr. Depp destroying and slamming cupboards and breaking glass and yelling at Ms. Heard while having a glass of wine with wine in his hands. I've seen videos of destruction of property in the house. Okay, and what, if any, review have you conducted of the deposition and testimony of Mr. Depp's hired witness, Dr. Curry? Mr. Dennison, objection, Your Honor. May we approach the court? Sure. The court says, all right. Mr. Dennison, Your Honor, when we were up here last time, Ms. Bredehoff represented to you there was a reference in his disclosure or in the rebuttal to disclosure to Dr. Curry. Her name does not appear. There's no reference at all to any evaluation of Amber Heard. The court, is there an opinion about the credibility? Ms. Bredehoff, he testified in his deposition. Then we supplemented and incorporated his deposition. Do you have that for me? I do. This is a deposition taken the 14th, specifically. So where in here does it talk about it specifically incorporates his deposition testimony? Well, Mr. Dennison, well, the contention is the last line says, I can talk about anything anybody else talks about that. That's not an appropriate disclosure. No, Your Honor, we did incorporate. Well, you can't incorporate Ms. Cownan, which is a Depp attorney. Yeah, that's the court. You can't incorporate it without the deposition. Expert depositions, you can't have him testify. Elaine, what we did was incorporate what he said. We did incorporate his deposition. The court, but is this specifically put in his supplemental disclosure? Ms. Bredehoff, I don't think that we went and put everything he said in deposition in. The court, you have to put the deposition in. You have to supplement what his opinions are going to be. Elaine, right. But that's just commentary in a particular. I mean, he's just saying this evidence supports. That's an evidence that supports. Oh my gosh, show my angle. Oh, I think I do have a picture of him. There we go. Sorry, I forgot to pick the pictures up. Wait. It's Johnny's head. There you go. Sorry, I forgot all about the picture stuff. We're too much into the reading. There you go. Mr. Spiegel going up there acting like he's an expert that knows fucking everything. All right. He thought he was going to kill it. Oh, man. Okay. Elaine Bredehoff says, the court says, let's see. Elaine says, I don't think that we went and put everything he said in deposition in. The court, you have to put in his deposition in. You have to supplement what his opinions are going to be. Right. But that's just commentary in a particular. I mean, he's just saying that the evidence supports. That's an evidence that supports, right? It's not a major opinion. I understand that. But what Mr. Dennison is talking about, he's going to opine an opinion that she was credible in her answers to place it in. Wait, what the fuck did she say? If he's going to opine an opinion that she was credible in her answers to place it, Ms. Bredehoff, that's not a major opinion. That is part of the major opinions. Your Honor, repeat that. That's not a major opinion. That is part. The major opinions, Your Honor, are very specific to drugs and alcohol. But he gives all the evidence that supports it. I understand. The opinion that she was truthful in her answers. Where is that? That's not an opinion. That's him saying that based on the test results, she scored that this is a particular test result of Dr. Curry. That means that she was incredibly answering those tests. What? That's an opinion. I'll sustain to the objection. No reference to Dr. Curry, right? Ms. Bredehoff, I don't think you can say he can't make references. The court, if he referred to hers in his opinion, that's fine. He can't opine about the results. Dennison, right. MMPI, and that's the issue. There's no reference in this instance about any MMPI. I suspect he's going to talk about Dr. Curry's MMPI. Your Honor, that's not a major part of his opinion. I'm going to sustain the objection. All right. Thank you. Everyone says thank you. But not too much going on with the sidebars with Dr. Spiegel, though. But he is here. Now, sidebar number 3, Elaine continues the direct examination of Dr. Spiegel. So this is after recess. I think we had like a quick little 10-minute, 15-minute morning recess. Hey, Sarah, how are you doing today? Hello, how are you doing? Hi, Dave. Spiegel's Elaine's son. And I thought I would never hear the what if any anymore. Should we do a word count of what if any on all these dogs? That'd be kind of funny. Want to do like Elaine, what if any? All right. Dennison says, Your Honor, I just want to be totally mindful of your prior orders. This witness testified that he invited twice Mr. Depp to be examined. Those 2 invitations were motions to this court to order a medical exam, and both of those were denied. Elaine says, Actually, we did request it and they said no. And then we moved for it and you said no. The court, you can address it in cross-examination. Mr. Dennison, but can I mention your order? Ms. Bredehoff, we didn't ask whether they will. We did make a request. We requested of them independent of the order. The court, right, but you did an order afterwards. You asked for an order? That's correct. You can redirect on that. That's fine. That's fair game. Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Back to open court. Elaine continues doing the direct examination of Spiegel. The court says, yes, sir. Mr. Dennison, we're getting to this. Can you say that question again? Ms. Bredehoff, is there a record of evidence of physical violence by Mr. Depp, which is one of the risk factors, and it's in the designations, page 84, paragraph 2. Wait. Is there record evidence of physical violence by Mr. Depp? I'm not asking if he was a perpetrator. This is physical violence. You're saying if there's physical violence? Yes, that he engaged in physical violence. But this is very much, it's at page 84, Your Honor. I understand that. You're going to state that he has risk factors. You're not going to what he thinks. Yes, he's going through the risk. What are the factors? And he actually says, you can ask that question what the factors are. But then he also said, this is part of his opinion, that there's actually physical record of him committing physical violence, sexual violence, psychological regression, which he can testify to that. And that's his opinion. That's exactly the issue that we raised previously. It's making judgment as to all. Right. He's making judgments as to the evidence. He can't say there is known physical acts of Mr. Depp because it isn't. That's what the jury is here to decide. He can testify. He's read the record. I like how Elaine doesn't even give a legal argument. She'll just say things like, he can do this. She can say that. Well, I don't understand. Why not? It's like, give legal arguments. Okay, so the court says it doesn't come into evidence. You want to testify that he has read reports and evidence. That's what he bases opinions on. That's fine. But he can't say, yes, there's reported times of this because he doesn't know that. And that's what the jury has to figure out. Elaine says, so I can ask him if there's record evidence of physical violence, sexual abuse, physical aggression, but that he can't say any specific. What was your question again? It was, in your review of the case, is there evidence of physical violence by Mr. Depp? Mr. Dennison, Your Honor, I think it literally continues to invade the province of the jury here. That's specifically one of the issues the jury is going to ultimately decide, and she's asking him to sum it all up for them. And, Your Honor, we disclosed this. I know you disclosed it. We're past disclosure. And experts are able to testify to ultimate issues as well. But he's going to throw in 3 different types of the IPV here in talking about it. But he's seen recorded evidence record evidence. Record evidence. I don't want him commenting on the evidence that's before the jury. He can't comment on, yes, he assaulted Ms. Heard because he doesn't know that. It's an evidence for the jury. And what he said in his report is that he said there are numerous witnesses who are reporting seeing cuts, bruises, and injuries. And it was reported that, okay, so that why don't you ask, what have you reviewed that shows that? I'm not sure how you want to do it, but I just don't want him to give any kind of conclusion with respect to the evidence. Makes sense? It makes sense to me. I know, Dennison, we know it makes sense to you. But for Elaine, she's dragging a little bit, maybe. The court says, all right, Mr. Dennison, fundamentally, the court, he's not going to give, his only conclusion is going to be that he meets the risk factors, not that he's done it, correct? Ms. Bredehoff, so I'm going to ask, I just want to make sure. Well, okay. What have you reviewed that reflects Mr. Depp engaging in physical violence? No. Objection. You just say the risk factors. Risk factors. Risk factors relating to physical violence? That's just one of them. I understand. But what we were discussing earlier is he's engaging. There's evidence of him engaging in each of the risk factors. Right. Just in risk factors, not engaging in physical violence. Maybe just explaining what the risk factors are first, and then what have you reviewed? Give us your information that he knew that he was. So if I'm understanding Your Honor's ruling here, I can't ask him what the record evidence is of Mr. Depp engaging in physical violence, the sexual abuse. Instead, I just have to have him explain what this is and the significance of it to IPV. What the risk, right? What the risk factors, right? And what he reviewed that makes you believe that he correlates with those risk factors. Does that sound all right? Mr. Dennison, yes. He can identify what the risk factors are for IPV. The court, right. And what he reviewed that would put him on that course, but I just don't want him commenting on the evidence itself. Elaine, okay. What it correlates, okay. Everyone says okay, okay. Elaine asks her questions. I think it goes kind of smoothly. There's a little bit of an objection. It's not that bad. Not much of a hot mess. Okay. Now we're going to go to the part where Dr. Spiegel explains Johnny Depp and explains narcissism. I don't know. Does Johnny Depp look like a narcissist? He looks like the complete opposite of a narcissist. 6358. Johnny Depp. Okay. Johnny Depp, narcissism. Line 8. Elaine says, okay, all right. What, if any, risk factor is narcissism for intimate partner violence? Dr. Spiegel says, so a patient, before we get into narcissistic personality disorder or traits or disorder, the categorized under what is called cluster B personality disorder. Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope of question, says Dennison. He's explaining the narcissism. I also stand the objection to the last question. Okay, can you explain to the jury what's involved with narcissism as it relates to risk factors of intimate partner violence and what that realm is? And Spiegel answers, so narcissism patients have, again, poor self-control, okay. Rapid mood shifts, okay. As a result, they have an undue sense of admiration. They worship power or worship control. They have a lack of empathy, and people are generally kept around them as long as they're useful to them. Who does that remind you of? Who is kept around as long as they're useful to them? A large sense of entitlement. Anything else? Need for praise. So that would go under narcissistic personality and IPV. What if any traits would be requiring admiration? Would that fit into it? He replies, yeah, oh yeah, requiring admiration. Needs to be admired as parcel of narcissistic personality disorder. I don't know, man. Who needed admiration and be worshipped as a victim when they came out as a victim of domestic violence in a partnership with their exes or their ex? You know, going around doing a little press tour and saying that, like, I donated the divorce proceedings, you know, getting all the, yes, queens, oh my God, yes, look at this queen over here, she donated her proceedings, oh my God. Like, who needed to go around and get admiration from other people? Go on. And would that be envious fit within that? Spiegel answers, yes. Fragile self-esteem, yes. And what, if any, record evidence do you have that correlates with Mr. Depp being narcissistic? Spiegel answers, right. I do think the fact that he felt that Amber owed him. Ms. Heard owed him. Objection, Your Honor. Overruled. Ms. Bredehoff, thank you. Go ahead. Spiegel answers, the fact that Ms. Heard owed him and only wanted to be together with him because of his fame is an example of that. I do think the jealousy aspects are an example of that. I do think, and I think Mr. Tillett had testified that, being admired is one thing, but behind your back saying something else about people is another thing. And then I can probably say with reasonable certainty that to some degree this whole trial is that Mr. Dennison, objection, Your Honor. The court, what's your objection? That's not record evidence, speculation. The court overruled. Please continue. That this whole trial in terms of narcissistic insult is what's going on. I believe that Mr. Depp was very much a mainstay appropriately in Hollywood. And then this was pulled the rug without objection, Your Honor. He's simply explaining. That's the same the objection. Can you explain what you mean by this whole trial? Mr. Dennison, Your Honor, may we approach? The court says yes. Answer. The court case we're going through. Spiegel answers. The court says, that's an objection, sir. Dennison says, may we approach? Of course, as you may. Sidebar. Whoopsies. Sidebar. Okay. Court says, you want to talk about the court case? I'm not sure. Ms. Bredehoff, well, I think he's just saying that as an example that the fact that we've got this trial, the court, I think it's beyond, gets back to what he reviewed. All right, I'll try. Sustained. All right, thank you. Dennison does a cross of Dr. Spiegel. 6378. I don't know. I might detect a little bit of narcissism from Dr. Spiegel a little bit. I don't know. He seemed like he was all high and mighty when he was up there. His tone, you know? All right. So, question. You start with what you finish. Let's start with what you finished with. You understood that the court was twice asked by Ms. Hurt's counsel to order a medical exam of Mr. Depp, and those motions were denied. This is Dennison, by the way. Spiegel answers, I think that your team told the court you didn't want to have them, and the court ruled on them. I don't think the court proactively did it. You had a motion to them, right? The question. Oh, thanks, Sarah. Thank you so much for the 2. I appreciate your support. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit the like button. Thanks, Sandra. Yeah, and it's funny because like the witness is like asking questions to the lawyer as well, as if it was like a 2-way conversation, and he's just like sitting back, like I don't know. He had like a bit of like a pretentious vibe to him. Dennison. No, Ms. Hurt's lawyer moved for them and asked for them and did not get them. Isn't that right, sir? Spiegel answers, I was just saying that's what happened. My understanding of it was that you all did not want him to undergo one. They petitioned for it. The court said no. Yes, that's what my understanding of it was. Dennison says, the court said no to ordering Mr. Depp to do a medical exam. Spiegel, that's what I said. The court did not require it, right? Dennison, so it was ordered. In fact, right? Answer, it was. Bredehoff, Your Honor, may we approach? All right. The court, we're not going into this. Mr. Dennison, there you go. Ms. Bredehoff, thank you. All right, we're done with this. Dennison mentions news release. Okay, we're going to skip to sidebar number 14. What's the news release? Dennison. Sidebar 14. Ms. Bredehoff, I didn't want to interrupt the flow, Your Honor, and we're going to do a cross for a second. I just want to indicate that we would have called Bonnie Jacobs for the purpose of getting her therapist notes, but Your Honor's already ruled on that hearsay. So, by the way, I think Bonnie Jacobs, these are the notes that Amber Heard and her team were like, we have stacks and stacks of evidence that was not entered in, and that would have cleared me, and that would have shown that JD was an abuser. Anyways. And so all I wanted to do and say, and I also want to comment that even though, let's say there was a bunch of notes that like documented all this, I don't know, there's just so much bullshittery, there's so much fuckery that there's just so much evidence against her. I don't think these doctor notes would have really helped her much, to be honest. Yeah. And so I wanted to do and say is that we would have called her, but Your Honor has ruled on that. The court says that's fine. I just didn't want to interrupt the flow, Mr. Dennison. So while we're up here, I wanted to discuss this quickly. I think there's just been a news release that they decided not to call Mr. Depp. Until today, we were fully understanding that. The court, I don't know who's releasing news. Ms. Bredehoff, yeah, I don't either. The court, okay, thank you. Thank you. So I wonder who is releasing these news. I mean, obviously, it's going to have to be Team Amber Heard, right? If they were planning on calling Johnny Depp, but they decided not to, that's something that only Team Amber Heard would know. Who's doing the leaky? All right, this is the last part. Sidebar 16, Dennison cross of Ms. Arnold. Oh, this is the part where, remember Ms. Arnold? The Star is Born moment. Where Dennison, I think he says like Amber Turd a couple of times. Or that might have been in the redirect. But there's a part where Dennison says Amber Turd and Ms. Arnold like laughs and chuckles a little bit. I don't know, man. I don't know if AH would be happy with that. Camille. I mean, honestly, I just have to do Camille more. I'm very limited in the voices that I can do. So I do feel bad that I make Camille's voice a little bit of like a high-pitched teenager. But, I mean, she does have a higher pitched tone, you know, compared to other people. That's why her and Jessica Myers have like the same voice. Like, hi. It's like very like upbeat. Yeah, there you go. Like upbeat, like, Your Honor. Yeah. The only sack Amber did was a turd she left on JD's bed. Okay, so Dennison cross of Ms. Arnold. Ms. Bredehoff says, the objection is that he's calling essentially for a legal conclusion. I don't want to make that one from there. He's making a legal argument of whether Mr. Depp is responsible for this, and that's not something this witness would do. Mr. Dennison, The motion and limit that you decided relativists made it clear that they have to establish causal connection. What damages? The witness has to establish a causal connection to damages, and that's what I'm trying to explore. Ms. Bredehoff, this is very different. What he's arguing now. The court, you just can't elicit any illegal conclusion. That's all, okay? Mr. Jennison, and the causal connection and the legal conclusions are pretty close together. The court, I understand that, but if you leave it at causal connection, I understand. Causal connection, not legal. Ms. Bredehoff, yeah, he can ask whether Mr. Depp is legally responsible for. Dennis is right. I was saying that. And that's about it for today. Oh, hello, Patty Cakes. How's it going? That's it for day 21. So we covered 4 days today. We covered the cross-examination of Amber Heard, the redirect mess, and Amber Heard has some witness testimonies, but they're mostly like video. Very, I don't know. It's very like... Video depositions are very boring to watch. I don't know. But it must be even worse for the jury, I feel like. But we paid attention to them. You know, we didn't fall asleep or anything. Next, I think the next couple of days, we have just when you thought the trial couldn't get any more spicier, it really does. Because there's like after Amber Heard presented her side, when we went back to... Let's see. Oh no, Walter Hamada. Okay, that was pretty. The what's it called? Warner Brothers guy. He testified. That was a little bit spicy too. And then we had the rebuttals with Morgan Knight, and then at some point we got Kate Moss, Morgan Tremaine. Yeah. Dr. Don Hughes comes back. Amber Heard comes back. Yeah, it's actually a pretty wild shit show. Marge Simpson's sister. Oh, the Smoker sisters. Oh man. Okay, so I think that's it for today. I think we'll have another round of reading the sidebars, and then we should be taking a break for a bit. Day 21. Okay, so we'll have day 22, day 23, day 24, day 25, and then 26, 27 is not really court dates. So I think we should be able to knock all this out in one stream. Yeah, and then after that, I don't think there's too much going on. I mean, September, there's a lot going on in September, but you know, if there's anything you guys want me to cover, feel free to post it in the Discord. If you want to share any articles, anything, join the Discord. There is a true crime section. You're welcome to post some stuff in there. If there's anything you want me to cover. Someone did want me to cover there was a girl who apparently was trying to get back at her boyfriend. And she drove her car at 100 miles an hour or something. They get into a car accident. He dies. She survives. And there was a verdict read against her. And so maybe we'll take a look into that. I haven't looked into it yet.